Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations, and this thing is going ping. I think I might, what do you think? I'll turn this off. Do not disturb. There we go. My name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations. Thank you very much for joining. I am experimenting a little here, as those who might have watched Mike from Mike's Mac Shack might have watched his stream. He was using new streaming software called StreamYard. I am doing the same. It's going to be a very interesting experiment. This has some really nice features about it. One of the things that it absolutely does not have is any indication of what my audio is like. So please, if everyone could let me know if I am too loud, too soft, whatever the case may be. I don't have a whole lot of control over that, but I might be able to just do a little bit of fiddling here and there. So if folks could please just let me know how the audio is, that would be greatly appreciated. Sound perfect, that's what I like to hear. Incidentally, I did have some sound issues in my last live stream. There were two problems. Problem number one was that the cable that I have connected to this microphone that is just here was all a bit dicky. That cable has been replaced, so I shouldn't get any more of the crackly noises from that one. The other thing is my, what do we call my wireless mic, this one that I wear here on my shirt. If a connection is lost for whatever reason between this and the wireless thing, it lets out this unbelievable rumbling sound. It's terrible. And of course, in my last live stream, that happened, and it obviously just went, just blew people's brains out. So I apologize for that. I am in the process, well, not, I have ordered a new microphone. So I have added a new wireless microphone. I bought a Rode Wireless Go, and I'm looking to get probably some sort of headset-y type microphone that comes around here as well, so that it might make it a little bit easier for when I'm doing this work. So anyhow, that's enough of that. That's all the not so interesting stuff. I'm going to say a quick hello to people now. Because I'm using StreamYard, StreamYard shows me the comments that are coming in here, but it doesn't show them right back to the beginning of the stream. It only shows them to the beginning of when I logged on here. So I can't necessarily say hello to everyone. People might need to jump on and say hello again if I miss you. So a big hello to Trina and to Justin and to Joe Williams, Michael's Workshop, Retro Techie. Who else have we got? Frederick Raymer, SadMac356, Action Retro, hello Sean. I think CTR, hello. Dana Siberia is here, hello. Who else have we got? I think that's a Shady Robot, hello. Is it Al Fulton? I think that is. Steve is here, hello Steve. Fancy new cable. Yeah, I got a fancy new cable. So anyhow, I have had a chance to have a play with it and push it and prod it, and it doesn't do the crackling like the old one did. So I think we should be a lot better. And of course, once I get my new fancy microphone set up, the sound should hopefully be even better. And in the meantime, I'm going to send some messages to the guys who make StreamYard and ask for some feature requests or a few things that I would like for them to add to this software. But anyhow, once again, thank you to everyone for joining. Michael Mullet, hello, thank you for joining. So in my last live stream where I went over a, what was it? It was a Macintosh SE 30 in a very, very poor state. Now, of course, this is my intention to do a second part of that, but one of the problems that I had, so we recapped it, cleaned it up a bit, ran it. I was 99% sure it wasn't going to work, and I was right. We got the CMAC. I went into the ultrasonic cleaner. When I brought it out, I found 4 broken traces. I repaired those broken traces, fired it up again, and got a chime, but still getting CMAC on the display. I noticed a lot of crud and corrosion around the multiplexer chips coming out of the RAM slots. And so I just thought I would take those off and clean them up. And then while I was removing one of them, a leg fell off. And then when I examined it closely, that leg was rust all the way into the case. This is it here. You can't actually see it because it's very tiny and in my fingers here, but this is the chip here, and as I say, it was rusted right through into it. So I have purchased more of these. These are discontinued. You can't buy these anymore as a new product. I got them through a company called utsource.com. They have ones they are referred to as used, but let's face it, when you're working with a 30-plus-year-old computer, beggars can't be choosers when it comes to replacement parts. Max Button, hello. And Vladek Rowe, hello, thank you for joining. And yes, my leg fell off. So anyhow, things are on a pause with that one. I am going to do another live stream of it, but I am now at the moment waiting for things to arrive from China. So we just have to patiently wait for that to happen. And that's that. So anyhow, today I'm going to be working on a couple of things. I've got a board that I started on and didn't finish. I had to leave. I was live streaming. I was doing my private live stream with all the, excuse me, naughty swearing and stuff like that in it. And incidentally, for anyone, Lazy Jones, hello, I didn't mention you. Micro Mage Repair, hello. So yeah, for those who may or may not be interested, I do from time to time do a private live stream. So that is, it's unlisted. It doesn't get sent out to the greater community, and you can only access it if you know the URL to join it. And in those live streams, I basically, it's no holds barred. I basically just let loose and lots of swears and things like that. Now, if you would ever like to be part of one of those and join in, the best way to do that is to join the MacYac Discord server, because I do make announcements like that these private live streams are going out on the MacYac server. So I put those into the I've got my own channel on there, but there's also the general chat, and I generally put those up on the general chat to say I'm about to live stream with all the bells and whistles. So if anyone wants to join the MacYac Discord server, that's how you find out about those live streams if you want to watch one. So anyhow, when I was doing this, I was working on a 70 something hundred. Oh, it's raining. What a pisser. I was working, I think it was a 7300, something like that. I'd need to double check. Well, I have to have a look. And it didn't actually need recapping. It was the customer basically just doing a bit of preventative maintenance. Here we do a little bit of that. So this is the MacYac Discord server link for anyone who does want to join. Thank you very much for posting that, Steve. I do appreciate it. And I was in the middle of recapping a board, and I had to leave the live stream, and so the caps are off. It just needs new caps put on it, and it's just sitting there waiting for me to finich. So I may finish that today as well. We'll just see how it goes. That won't take long. Don't forget your Twitter. Yeah, see, I didn't do it. I didn't do a little twat post today. I do sometimes, but I didn't today. So my apologies. I didn't have a chance to go in and do a pretty thumbnail. So it's just my normal SE30 background image. So sorry about that to everyone who's expecting better. Okay, so. Where are we? Okay, so I am going to probably start. I'm just looking at this. I'll probably start with the power supply here that I'm going to work on today. Did I mention what I have here to work on? Probably not. How about we go here and we will jump across to top view. Yay, look at that. I don't know how the image quality looks there. It looks a little bit cruddy for me here, but I think one of the things I have found with this StreamYard software is that it does sometimes look cruddy for me, but it looks all right in the live stream. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be working on today. I've got an LC475 power supply. I'm pretty sure it's 475 power supply. TDK one. It's pretty much everyone that I've ever seen here in Australia has been a TDK one. So. And then I've got over here the LC575. Everyone loves the 575. Very, very popular board. I think the main reason why people like this board is because it has the same connector as a Color Classic, and you can, with some mods, put this into a Color Classic and create a Mystic. So you turn your Color Classic from an 030 into an 040, a nice blazingly fast 040. And I have done it to mine, and it's fun. It is really good fun playing with a what do you call it? Playing with a Color Classic with the blazingly fast. There we go. Other way. That's one thing I don't like about this StreamYard is when you do this little picture-in-picture stuff, it's a little bit difficult to tell it, hey, go into this picture-in-picture with this view and this view. It just doesn't. Yeah, it's annoying. Never mind. So, anyone, if they're wondering what the hell Mystic means, it's a term that was used. It was the code name given by Apple for a computer that never got released. They were going to create an 040 version of the Color Classic, and they code named it the Mystic. Then it actually ended up getting made. So the 575 board, very popular because it can turn a Color Classic into a Mystic. And what we also have is there often ends up being a bit of a surplus of these things, and the reason being the 575 is one of those big all-in-one units with a big, whatever it is, 13-inch CRT inside it, and very brittle plastics. And it's very common for these things to get destroyed in transit. And so all of a sudden you have this computer that is just in pieces of plastic, and you end up with this logic board with no home. And so then that's when people then go in and put them into their Color Classic. So, okay, what do we got, Eric? I need my 575 board recapped. Well, Eric, you got a couple of options. You can either watch this one here today and learn all the tips and tricks and potentially do it yourself, or you can send it to someone like Steve, or you can obviously send it to me, but I'm a long way away, and that would probably be very expensive. So now, just a quick little shout out to Eric Helgeson. I just wanted to mention that he is the BlueSCSI guy. For anyone who doesn't already know, he is the person who brought us the wonderful BlueSCSI. So, and I just noticed in a little a Twitter thingy today, Eric saying that he has given the green light for using the BlueSCSI in Power PCs. Is that correct? Have I given the correct information there, Eric? We are now saying that the BlueSCSI is good to go in the Power PC, and you're comfortable that it is not going to cause huge amounts of problems, etc., etc., etc. So anyhow, just asking if you're there. BlueSCSI rocks now. Power PC compatible. Yes. Did you actually change anything, Eric? I guess that. Green light. Okay. So green light on Power PC for the BlueSCSI, folks. So that's a very important thing for everyone who's using the BlueSCSI. I'm very, very pleased to hear that. So anyhow, what else? All right. Well, I should probably get started on some of this. Did BlueSCSI get a disk access light? I should actually bring that up here. I will answer that question for you, Michael, and I can tell you that the BlueSCSI has not yet got a disk. Well, it has a disk access light on the board itself, on the Blue Pill, but I'm guessing you're talking about whether it actually has a pinout for you to connect an external activity light for, let's say, for example, for a 2CI or 2CX or a Macintosh SE30, where they have a little connector and a little LED that you can connect onto a hard drive. Now, if you're handy with a soldering iron, there are actually ways that you can connect up wires to the thing to have an external light. But there is, my understanding is there is a revision of the BlueSCSI coming out at some stage in the future. I won't commit to a date or anything like that because it's not up to me. That will have little pins on it, little headers to connect an external LED disk access light. So, right, so look at that. Ordered my second BlueSCSI kit tonight. Good on you. I actually came down here the other day and had a little bit of a build-a-thon, and I just built 4 of them for fun. I didn't actually need to build 4 of them, but I just felt like it. I recently made this, which is a BlueSCSI assembly jig for those with a 3D printer. And they allow you to, it facilitates in much quicker assembly because it holds all the components in place. You basically have them and you just go like that. Oh, no, hang on, you put the components on the board, you put this on top, you then flip it over and then you just solder. Get the thing done in half the time. Less than half the time, actually. Okay. Don't wait, Steve. Steve, don't wait. Get out and buy it now. Buy yourself the BlueSCSI now. Don't wait for the next one. Don't deprive yourself of having a BlueSCSI right now. Get it now. And then when there's the next rev, buy that one too. Okay, so, alrighty. Alright. Okay. Okay. Oopsie. I'm just going to jump up here and say, hey there, Dana. Thank you for joining. It's good to hear that you were doing stuff, because that's what Dana does. Stuff. He just never films it, unfortunately. Alright, so here we go. A little bit more information here. RE power per C, again, coming from Eric. Termination power is not as powerful. On the same 5-watt roll have no, so if not externally powered, it won't have enough for proper termination. So that's interesting to know. So one thing I would like to say about that, and this is because I do sell the BlueSCSIs, I do sell also, it's not on my shop yet, but I will be adding it. I do also sell Molex to Berg adapters. So you've got the BlueSCSI has a little 4-pin Berg connector, the same you would see on a floppy drive. Now, if you're putting that into a computer, it doesn't have a Berg connector for it. I have little adapters that are Molex on one side, which is your normal 4-pin hard drive, to Berg on the other side. You can then put it on and then just connect it into that. So I will be adding that to the store as an optional extra. So just be on the lookout. Right. Okay. All right. So look, I'm going to. Didn't pack my soldering on a microscope. Oh, come on, Steve. Where's your dedication? So he's just we got to shame Steve here. He goes on vacation and doesn't take his microscope and soldering on. Where's your dedication, sir? Where indeed? Okay, so Michael Mullet, what are the prices for the BlueSCSI? You will find those on my recapamac.com.au website, which I really should have a little overlay for, but I don't, but I will. So recapamac.com.au, that is where you'll find pricing, but keep in mind, I sell to Australian customers. I'm an Australian reseller, not an international reseller. If you're looking to buy them closer to where you are, I would look at the website, which is scsi.blue, SCSI.blue. Okay, right. Let us continue. Let's get some start getting some actual work done here. So I'm going to go across here and bring up the old ticker tape banner. It is bloody cold here today. I'm freezing. All right. So I have done plenty of these before. I have one here. Let's hope I don't get them all mixed up. I do record the serial numbers when I put these into the job ticketing system. But yes, I know this is Dana is an expert at selling lies on the internet. For anyone who hasn't seen Dana's work, I highly recommend it. Oh, that screwdriver doesn't feel like it fits properly. Let's get a small one. Okay. I'm going to just undo this little fella. Oopsie. Indeed, what kind of flashy streaming stuff is going on here? And actually that reminds me of something. That's a very important thing. Jay has just made me think of something super important which I need to mention to people. This is this new software I'm using called StreamYard, and it is different to what I usually use. A couple of things I like about it, a couple of things I don't like about it, but on the whole, I quite like it, and I love the way I can bring the chats up onto the screen like I have been doing here at the moment. one thing I still have absolutely no idea about is how this software handles a super chat. Now, I'm not saying people should just suddenly give me super chats, but if you want to be the first person to super chat with this new software and we can see how it behaves, what it does, whether it does anything fancy with it, please feel free, super chat, so we can just see, consider it just a demonstration to see what's going on, because I have no idea. Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate that. This is well, there is one annoying thing. It doesn't highlight, when you do ampersand breakers creations, it doesn't highlight that for me in my little comments here, which is a bit of a poo. Okay, look at that. So now I thank you very much, Justin, for the super chat. Oh look, I got one from House of Moth as well. So let's see what happens when I. Hey, look at that. Okay, so it doesn't do it automatically. I have to click on it. Test engineer, here's my test. Thank you very much for that, Justin. That is greatly appreciated. And now, Jay, you may have been first, but you came up in my feed second. So, but that's nice. So it does it with a nice bit of colour, and it shows the amount. And obviously, I can then go in and I can show it off. So that's all wonderful. So thank you very much for those super chats. Thank you for testing it. I do appreciate that. I'm struggling to get this stupid thing out. Stupid thing. There we go. Now it's out. Now, here's the power supply. Let me change this camera angle. It's not ideal. I'm going to just zoom in a smidge. Whoops, other way. There we go. And there we go. Okay, that's a bit better. That's a little bit better. That's better for me. It's better for you. It's better for the country. Okay, so which country, you ask? Good question. Whoopsie. Eric, thank you very much. Look at all this generosity going on here. Okay. Right. Okay. All right. Right, so one of the things that I do whenever I'm doing a recap on one of these boards is I desolder these pins here so that it's not tethered to this thing here. On some of the earlier power supplies, I think like the 2SI, there was actually a connector and you could just undo it nice and easily. But on this one here, you've actually got to desolder these. So, but I do that. It just makes life a lot easier when you're doing this work. So I'm going to desolder these two pins here. They're coloured here, blue and brown. For those who aren't aware of that colouring scheme, that's the colouring scheme we use here in Australia. And I know it's the case in a lot of other countries as well. Your brown is your live, your active, and your blue is your neutral. So, and this one is actually labelled here N for neutral. Does it say anything for the active? I can't see. But anyhow, so I will know which way around they go when they go back. So everything's fine. So it would appear that I have 27 people watching at the moment, if this interface is actually giving me the correct information. So hello to you all. The folks watching. I don't expect a whole lot of people here because I didn't do a whole lot of promoting. It was just pretty much me doing a little post on my Brankus page, and what else? I did a what do you call it? Yeah, just a little notification on Discord and stuff like that. I didn't do my normal sharing into groups or anything like that. I didn't send out a twat. So yeah, it's just the subscribers, I guess, the people that got the notification, the regulars, all that sort of stuff. And to you people, thank you very much. You are the people I do like to do these streams for. I really should have my glasses on because I can't see anything. Is it possible to recap these without getting the thermal compound all over your fingers? Does that answer your question? Sorry, I should show that one if I'm going to be talking to it. Yes, it is rain. You can hear, Trina. It is just started raining. So, is it actually possible to recap those supplies without getting thermal compound all over your fingers? Well, no. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could. That's the thermal compound there. You probably could, but you might need to be a little bit more careful about it than I just was. Okay, so there's a question. So we're going to try this and just see how it goes, because I would like to remind everyone, if you are, watching this channel and you are enjoying it, or even if you're hating it, don't forget to
smash that like button.
How did that go? Did that work? Was it really loud? Did it blow everyone's brains off? Okay, so let's have a look at this now with some spectacles. It's a little too difficult for me to see with the naked eye, so I have to have a look at it with eyes with a pair of underpants on. Yep, there we go. Okay, I didn't burn myself or anything. So it was a good day. It was a good day. Right, now, so I generally don't bother about recapping this great big fat capacitor here, because, yeah, daggy but epic, yes, that's right. How do I get rid of this thing now? Where is it? There it is. Hide. If you leave them on too long, the message gets too far away. Speakers are smoking. It worked. It sounded fine. Yeah. Okay, so I generally don't replace this great big fat cap here, because these really, really big ones here tend not to have any problems at this stage. And they're bloody hard to find, these ones too, by the way. But anyhow, I do replace everything else. So this little guy here and all these little ones here. And we are likely to see some leakage, though this one really does not look too bad at all. It's really not uncommon for this little cluster around here to leak. Now, first thing I need to do is get a recapping guide. And make sure, most importantly, that the recapping guide I have is actually this particular... oh, look at that. Dana has tweeted my live stream. Thank you very much, Dana. Let's see how much pull Dana has. We'll see whether I suddenly get a massive influx of people, in which case I'll be thank you. All right, so let's see if I can. This is my recapping booklet guide here. These are pretty much what you'll see on the website. Some of these are like revision 1 of the recapping guides, and they're not quite as neat and polished as the ones on the website. There we go. No. Okay, this 2SI. No, that's the ugly 2SI that we do not like. There's a bit of mud on there. LC630. It's definitely one of the favourite Macs. Everyone loves the 630. No one ever has a bad thing to say about the LC630. Okay, let's have a little look-see and see if we are... got it. How about I wipe this crap off? Thermal paste. Be gone. I will replace it when I put it back together. By the way, if you ever have one of these and you power it up, and then you take it out after powering it up, and you haven't had a chance to discharge, some really exciting things can happen just here. So just be warned. How old is this thing? This thing? Are you referring to this thing? This is from a LC475, so you can probably jump onto a website and find out how old the LC475 is, but I would say it's probably getting close to the 30-year mark, I would say. 2010, 2010, yep. Now, I always keep capacitors for this particular board in stock. I haven't checked to see how my stocks are lately, so I sure hope we don't have a repeat of one of those other events I had where I started doing a live stream and then I found out I didn't have the caps. So I'm going to use my machine. This is a machine that goes when you press the button, and it's a solder sucker. It's a motorized solder sucker. Very useful thing. It's still, I think I can probably zoom in a little bit more. What do you reckon? Whoopsie. There we go. Now we can see it a little bit better. Okay. Right. 1993-ish. Thank you for that. It's 28 years old. Okay, now we know. Adam McGee, hello there. Thank you for joining. You should put on gloves. Yeah, shall I? I will. I'll put on gloves. I've been told. It's the funny thing is that a lot of the time when I work on these things, when I do put gloves on, I am always so glad that I did put gloves on, and that my hands aren't all sticky and covered in flux and stuff like that. But I just keep forgetting to put them on. Okay, so this is the LC475, released on October 21, 1993. So there you go. Yeah. How was it different? Okay, so 28 years ago, how was it different then compared to today? Well, we didn't have the internet. How about that? We didn't have internet or smartphones. So that's how different it was back then. All right, so I'm going to grab my little machine here. I'm going to start sucking some solder out of this. I might have to change the tip, because I think this is the one I use for doing really small work. Oh, shuzzbutt. Okay. One of the things that I really despise is when people bend over the pins. Nobody likes that. And I also don't like it when I unsolder the wrong frickin' pin. Usually, you often get pretty good at telling the two different sides of a capacitor when you're doing this stuff. And then every now and again you do something stupid like I just did and desolder a bloody diode. Let's put that back on, shall we? There we go. Diode's happy again. Right. So I can tell you around about that time in 1992, I was already working full time, I think. Oh, actually, you know what happened in 1992? I had a horrendous motorcycle accident. That's one of the main things I remember about 1992. Ew, excuse me. Should be looking at these as they come off. Oh, that one smelt a bit. So we definitely got some, early stage leaking going on with that. We can test some of these and see whether they're operating within their rating or whether their ESR has lowered. I'm not in camera, am I? See, I'm not seeing the chats at the moment. Isn't that terrible? These really aren't too bad, which is good. I did actually have a cell phone in 1992. I remember, because it got damaged when I had my motorcycle accident. But I was definitely one of the earlier to have it. And then I stopped having one after that. And then I was without a cell phone for donkey's years. And then I got one again. I think I'm remembering it rightly. Oh, that one's definitely got leakage. I'll have a look at that one on a microscope in a sec. Yeah, definitely leakage on that one. Definitely. Dana? Yes, it is raining. It is currently raining, and I assume you're picking that up from my super sensitive microphones. But yes, it is actually raining at the moment. It's not heavy rain, but it is raining. It's been a pretty miserable sort of weekend, actually, in terms of weather. But that's all right. Yeah, a little bit of leakage on that one as well. So these little tiny ones we're definitely getting some leakage on. So what am I going to say? Oh, I'm going to say a little spiel. So hit that subscribe button, press that bell, do what you have to do. Sorry, that's an inside joke. Quoting someone. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So oh, that's the wrong one. I wanted to click this one. Yeah. So I had to wait near a payphone for our friends to call. So one of the things which is, you know, if you're going to be talking to younger people about today, this is something that I used to have to do when I was younger, is when you were meeting people somewhere, like, so let's just say, for example, I was heading into the city or something like that, I'm going to have a night on the town or something like that. You had a particular time and a place that you would meet. And you had to be there at that time. I mean, people weren't going to wait forever. You know, people might wait 10 or 15 minutes, but eventually, you know, it's like if you're not there, you're going to go without you. Yeah, it's such a different story these days. I mean, these days you don't even bother kind of organising where you're going to meet. You just get there and you ring up and go, where are you? So it's an interesting one. It's definitely a change in the world. A lovely person just brought you fish and chips. Excellent. That is, you're making me extremely hungry, Dale. Bruce needs a producer. I do. I need someone sitting here pressing the buttons to make sure the right things are coming up on the screen. I like the new StreamYard. Thank you very much for that, Michael. I like the new StreamYard as well. As I say, that I really only have, well, I have two issues with it primarily. Issue number one is when you, I have three issues. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. I have three issues with it. The first one is that when you go in to create a live stream, it defaults a whole bunch of settings that I have to then go in and change. And I haven't found a spot to go in and set up how you want that live stream to be created. You know, like for instance, it defaults with monetization switched off. It defaults with no replay on chat, which of course is really, they're really annoying things. You have to go in and fix them up. And then the other is that when I go into a view, like say I'm going to view like this, oops, with me here front and center, and then I decide now, okay, I want to go in and go that zoomed in view, and I do this. If I wanted to do this with a different camera here, I can't do that until it's on the screen. So I can't go in and say change into that view with this view already set up with a particular configuration. It just goes into however the configuration was last time, and then you have to muddle it around. So I can get my microscope camera and I can add that to the stream here, and then we've got the microscope there, and then I can go in and I can make the microscope the big view, just like that, the big kahuna. But then if I go back to this view, and then I say, all right, I want to go back, but this time I want to go back with the top view being it being the main focus. It won't let me. I go like this, and we're back to the microscope, and then I've got to manually do this. That's what I don't like about it. That's one of the things that I find most annoying. And of course, the other is the lack of audio controls. But that's another thing. So, okay, let's move on. Right, so I might just have a look at some of these under the microscope while we're here, and just show you what some of these do look like. So, time for me to actually change that view. I said, time for me to actually change that view. Oi! There we go. All right. So, what we're looking for here is stuff that looks like leakage. I guess I can see a little bit of kind of just a tiny bit starting to happen at the top of these pins. It's an indication that these are starting to dry out. No, but there was the little ones that I found some gunk on. Let's have a look at these. Yeah, see, look at that. That is gunk. That is grade A gunk. It's the finest gunk in all of Sydney. There's some more gunk. So we've definitely got leakage going on here. So there is definite benefit in fixing these up. Let's go back to the top view here, and let's see what we will see in terms of whether these are still testing within spec. So this is a 56 microfarad, 25 volt. So let's get the old multimeter, and we will put this onto capacitance. This is a test that you cannot do in circuit. If you do this in circuit, you will not get an accurate result. These things have to be taken out of the device in order to do a test like this. If you want to measure them in circuit, you can with a thing called an ESR meter. But I don't like using ESR meters. I mean, they have their place, but they're frustrating things. Okay, so we are going to just see what we get here, if I can just get these on here. 300 microfarad, 299 microfarad. This is meant to be 270, so that's within spec. So this is probably still working okay. The I could put the ESR meter on it, but it is a pain. It's up over there. It's up behind me. I have to get up, and I don't want to get up. Anyhow, we're changing the caps anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just going to check here. My feet are cold. Hello, Joe. Thank you for joining. Recapping a Mac Plus analog board. So, here's a question for you. I've got a question for you, Joe. See if you can answer this one for me. When you recap that analog board, let me just grab one. I've got a Plus analog board here somewhere. I'm curious about this, because I've often wondered this. Now, this is a US board that I have here. Yeah, it's in a bit of a mess. So it's missing a few bits. So just say. Anyhow, up here in the position C1, we have a non-polar capacitor. So it has no. You see, most of these have this stripe on it to indicate that's the negative, and then you have the positive on the other side. C1 is a non-polar capacitor, and sometimes they're this white one with an axial lead that wraps around the side, and then sometimes there's this one here. I so far have not found a decent modern replacement for that capacitor. And I'm just curious to know, Joe, if you recap it, do you recap that? And if you do recap it, what do you put in its place? So there you go. There's an interesting question for you. Should mention that any time I get a Mac Plus or a 128K or a 512K, the most common problem I find with them, without exception, are cracked solder joints, usually around here, around the connectors, around the flyback, sort of around along here, these connectors along here. They are really, really common for those solder joints to crack. And most of the time when I have one sent to me that's having problems with the image, you fix up all these solder joints, you suck the old solder away, you put nice fresh solder in there, clears most of the problems up. So just wanted to mention that for anyone who is interested in doing a Mac Plus recap. Okay, so use a red film cap. There we go. Okay, so that's what he uses, a red film cap. Right. You still... Okay, here we go. You can still buy the non-polarized caps for those analogs. I bought some from DigiKey a few years ago. Well, that's very good to know. I obviously didn't look hard enough. So Adam has said that last time he ended up stealing a cap from from another board. Yes, I've done that too. Okay, so let's have a look at this under the microscope now and see whether we've got lots of yucky leakage on the board. Yeah, so you can see the liquid there. This has definitely got leakage happening. Leakage is not good for these power supplies because, electrolyte is conductive, and you do not want things conducting electricity in places where you do not want them conducting electricity. So, yeah, you've got to replace these caps, and you've got to clean. Very, very important. Okay, so Let's see if we can get this a little bit clean. I was chatting the other day with some of my Maciac friends, and we were talking about the comments that people often leave inside, you know, at the end of a YouTube video. So you do a video, someone might come and watch it later on, and then they leave a comment about it. And the majority of the comments that people leave are either helpful or friendly. A lot of people just sort of saying, oh, you know, thanks, or I have one of these, or whatever. That's probably the most common one. I have one of these. And then every now and again you just get people leaving really awful comments, and I tend not to engage with those people. I just block them. You know, I just remove their comments and block them, because at the end of the day, if you start replying to them, you're actually giving them far too much satisfaction, because they, you know, they feel like they have created a reaction from you, and you don't want that. You basically just want to ignore those people and pretend and just remove the comment as quickly as possible. Simple as that. But there's one thing that when I see it in a comment that drives me absolutely bananas, and that is when someone starts a comment with and what they're ultimately doing in that is they're about, you know, that when they say they're about to say something that they think you're doing something wrong. So shouldn't you be cleaning that first? Or shouldn't you have you know, connected this to something or other? Or whatever. And I can tell you that posts are immediately removed from the comments. Any comments that start with gone. Say no to comments. Just tweeted a picture of the cap on the board. I'll have to check that later on. I'm doing too many things here at once to look at tweeties. They are machines. So, okay, all right. It's now starting to rain a little bit heavier, so I apologise for the rain noise. Let's get some capacitors and start getting new ones onto this. I had my recapping guide a moment ago. Here it is. I put it on the bin. Let's just hope it doesn't fall in. Or as Americans would say, in the trash. On the trash can. Shouldn't everybody be super chatting right now? Except that Dana. It's funny actually, because Jay did a super chat a while ago, and it's still up here on my screen. That's the best $3.99 I think he's ever spent. It's actually still on my screen now, however many minutes later that is. So I am going to need some caps. I need 50 volts, I need 25 volts, and I need 10 volts. Okay, now, anyone who does any recapping themselves, a few things worthy of mention. When you are recapping, it's very important that you use the same capacitance rating, but it is okay to up the voltage, but don't down it. You don't want to go too far. It can have an impact on the ESR. But you can, if, for instance, if I was going to put in I was going to replace a 25 volt and I put a 35 volt in its place, that's generally okay. Thank you very much, JJ Brubaker. I appreciate that. You can, so if you had like a 25 volt in there, you can replace it with a 35 volt. That's pretty much fine. You just need to obviously make sure that it's a capacitor that fits in the same place. I mean, if it's too big, physically too big to fit in the gap, it could be an issue. So it's sometimes saved my neck when I've been going to recap something and I suddenly realise I don't have the right one, and so I have to go in and put something of a slightly higher voltage in there. Now I need 10 volts. Excuse me. That's 35, 50, 16, 10 volt. There we go. 10 volt capacitors, and then 50. I've got one 50 volt. No, that's axial. Don't want that. Where's my 50? There we go, 50 volt. This is one of the things that really sucks about recapping power supplies. You never end up with the same caps. I mean, you think about it like this, right? I go in and I recap these logic boards for the Mac, and the majority of the time we are just using the same sized caps. We are using, 10 microfarad 16 volt, 100 microfarad 6.3 volt, 47 microfarad 16 volt, and 1 microfarad 50 volt. It's virtually one of those four on all of the early Mac boards when you're replacing surface mount electrolytics. But I tell you what, when it comes to these power supplies, I mean, someone sends you a power supply you haven't worked on before, you are guaranteed to need to go and buy another one or two capacitors. No matter how many you have in your supplies, it'll be like, oh, damn. Actually, I had one the other day. It was one talking about electrostatic. People may notice that I have a fairly cavalier attitude towards static electricity here. That is not to say that I don't take certain precautions, but I know that some people who are very, very anal about static electricity sometimes look at my streams and go, "What? What are you doing? What are you doing? I've just turned on a heater because my legs are cold, so I just I've got a little gas heater under here. Nothing dangerous about that. Okay. Going to recap my Mac 2X tomorrow. All of the SMD caps on there are the same value and size. Yeah, I think they're all 47 microfarad 16, if I remember rightly. And the Mac 2X is a great board to recap because it's so big. There's massive gaps on the board for where the capacitors live, and so it's really hard to muck them up. You know, they're very easy. So anyhow, I'm very envious. I don't have a 2X. I would love to own a 2X. 2X and 2FX, they're two that I would actually love to have in my collection. I've got several Mac 2s. I've got a Mac 2 that's had the ROM upgrade, which is, for me, that was just hitting pay dirt when I got that one. So it's one that has been upgraded so that it can read and write high density floppy disks, so your FD, HD, whatever, floppy drive, and it also can be upgraded to 128 megabytes of RAM. So, but it's very finicky with the RAM you put in it. So I do actually have 128 megs, and I'd like to try it, see if it works. But I don't know. I was playing with my Quadra 950 the other day, and I've loaded up with 168 megabytes of RAM. I am going to actually go and buy more RAM, and I'm going to one day upgrade that 950 to 256 megabytes. Why? Don't know, but I am gonna. Just for a bit of fun. And I have to say, I love playing with the Quadra 950. There's a lot you can do with it. It's a fun one. So, 8.250. Where's that? Have I got it? Have I got that? I may not even have this size, you know, because I often don't replace that cap. So, yeah, I don't think I have it. I don't have an 8.250. What a pain in the butt. All right, the original one's going back on. Just for the purposes of testing, I will replace it, don't worry. I just don't have it here. All right. Oh, actually, maybe I have one in 63 volt. Let's just check. Ooh. Nope. 8.2 is a pretty weird size, isn't it? Let's face it. All right. Okay, so for the purposes of just what we're doing today, well, the old cap's going to go back on, but I will replace it after I've ordered a replacement. So I put 136 megabytes. And my Quadra 650 for no particular reason. Well, I can tell you what the reason is, Adam. The reason is because you can. That is the thing. That's the thing that always gets me when it comes to these. It's like I can go out and I can buy a whole bunch of 16 megabyte sims that I never could have afforded back in the day. Back in the day, one of those sims would have cost you hundreds of dollars per sim. You would have literally spent thousands of dollars upgrading a computer to 128 megabytes back in those days, if we're talking about like 30-pin sims. I know this Quadra 650 is actually... Is it 72? I think I could be wrong. Anyhow, yeah, to be able to get, say, a Quadra 950 that has 16 30-pin slots, and you can theoretically go in there and stack it up with 16 megabyte sims, and it's not going to break the bank. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's nothing. I mean, that would have cost you thousands of dollars back in the day. So, so Dana, can I have it? I'll even drive all the way to Bathurst for it. Even though I know it's freezing cold up there at the moment, which I really don't like the sound of it, but yeah. Jay is making mention of the fact that the little heater I use, when I put a new gas canister on it, it tends to flare up a little bit. But now that it's actually, this gas canister is, let's say, primed, it's not really an issue anymore. So. Yes, yeah. So poor old Dana. Dana doesn't have any Mac 2s, and he gets a little bit jealous with how many I've managed to come across. Now, admittedly, I was on the lookout for them for a long time. I didn't have a Mac 2 for ages. Then I lucked on one, and got it recapped and everything like that. Had some trace damage, but had no power supply. So then I got another one, and that one had a problem power supply. So now I've got two Mac 2s, both of them with good logic boards, and one with a bad power supply. And then I got a third one. The third one, the board had a problem. I fixed that as well. The board was a real mess, but I fixed it. But that one had a good power supply. So what I have now are three Mac 2s. Three Mac 2s and one working power supply. Go figure. Wow, this is a slow recapping. This software makes me work a lot slower. Okay. Right. Yes. I mean, if you can find your own power supply. Yeah, here's one. Oh, fudge. If you can find one of these, you can have one of the boards and boxes. You can always, of course, put in a new one. The only thing I haven't been able to figure out with those is the soft power, but I know there are smart people out there that can figure that out. They can tell me what to do. Save me having to actually try and figure it out myself. Dana, you would be most welcome to send that down. A little reference here. It burned down, fell into the swamp. Reference to Holy Grail there. So they said I was mad building a castle in a swamp. But I built one, and it fell into the swamp. So I built another one, and that one fell into the swamp. And I built a third one, and that one burned down, then fell into the swamp. But the fourth castle. Oh, dear. Love it. Okay, all right. Let's... Oh, God, I'm just not getting anywhere. So, let's move this out of the way because there is no benefit in that whatsoever. These power supplies definitely take me longer. The logic boards I can kind of do without concentrating. What? Oh, this is a disaster. I don't have any of these ones left. Look, that's an empty spot right there. God, I'm an idiot. So, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to abandon this power supply and start working on something else. Because although I can go in 3 of the most important capacitors on this thing, 1000 microfarad 10 volt, they're not there. Empty. Spot. 270 microfarad 10 volt, I've got those, that's alright. I'm really annoyed with myself now. Welcome to professional live streaming. 270-25, got those. 56-25, got those. 47-25, got those. Okay, so we're good for all of them except for probably the most important ones. And I am going to abandon this recapping until I order more caps, and then I will do it at a later date. So my apologies, everyone. That is what we here in the business call professionalism. Excuse me. I need to grab myself a little Ziploc baggie, which I have here. Here's one. And I'm going to put these screws into the Ziploc baggie. Just want to sing. No, 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 none of that. Yes, so just in case anyone hadn't figured out, I have watched a fair bit of Monty Python before in my life. Alright, I'm missing a few chats here. What's going on here? Yeah, pivoting. I've got to pivot. Good at pivoting. She's got huge tracts of land. Right, where's the bag? Is that at 122? Yep, this is it. So this is my anti-static bag for the power supply. This is where it's going to live for now until I get the caps, and then I will come back to that one at a later date, and we will be happy, and then we'll be singing in the streets. Come on. Ever tried to get tape off a tape dispenser with latex gloves on? It's not easy. Right. Okay, there we go. There's failure number 1 for today. Yay! Let's move on to the next failure. And we will go here, and we will go... Pivot. Hey, what are you doing? Get out from under there. Pigeon just crawled underneath the shelf. Pfft, stupid thing. Okay. What are you doing under there? Oh, this little thingy's telling me I've got 36 people watching at the moment, so hello to you all. Thank you for joining. We started off a moment ago, ages ago actually, recapping an LC475 power supply, and then I suddenly realised that I'm actually missing 4 capacitors. I've run out, and so I'm going to have to do an order and buy some more, and I feel like an idiot, but at least I have a backup plan. Yes sir, I have an LC575 logic board. And who doesn't love an LC575? Tell me that. Everyone loves the 575. It's one of everyone's favourite Macs. I'm just trying to find a Ziploc bag big enough for these RAM sims. Is this RAM and ROM? Yeah, that'll fit. Okay, so a couple of things I can tell you about this LC575 board straight off the bat. Oops, let's not kick the heater. It has 2 VRAM sims in here, and these are the 512K ones. So this one will be theoretically running with the best, the highest number of colours that you can select, because they're the biggest VRAM sims you can put in there. The 512s are pretty hard to find, so let's just see if we can encourage people to do recreations of these, reproductions. People like Kai Robinson and that, who do these recreations. I would love to be able to get some 512K VRAM sims if they haven't already been done. And then we've got RAM here. And what have we got? That's 32 megabytes. That's awesome. So it's a 32 megabyte sim on this. This also has, I think, 4 or 8 on the board. So this has probably got 40 or 44 or something like that. No, nothing wrong with my maths. It's probably like a 36 or something like that in total. There's a guy making those VRAMs. Awesome. So I need to go in and check that out. Adam McGee, why do you hate this Mac? I think it's very important for you to tell us why you hate this Mac. I can tell you there are some problems with this Mac, and specifically the case is Spindler Plastics. If you're not aware of that term, it's a term given because of Michael Spindler, who was at the helm of Apple at the time, and they produced a lot of Macs during that time frame with very, very weak plastics. And that really sucks. And when these things, people try and transport them, and they might put them in a box and they pad them up, but the CRT inside is so heavy that if the thing gets dropped, the weight of the CRT is enough to make these things break inside. You could just snap things and they fall apart. So, Silicon Insider is doing 512k. There we go. All right, we'll have to keep that in mind. 800 Kund. I assume that's Canadian dollars, Thomas. 800 Canadian dollars for it. That's like 800. We're very similar here. That's like 800 Australian. Oops. That was meant to go in a plastic bag with the power supply. In you go. Get in there. Yeah, it's a lot of money, isn't it, for a, for a 575. I mean, I know they're popular, but I wouldn't spend that much for them. They're not that popular, in my opinion. I managed to get hold of an LC 575 board for quite cheap. There was someone who had a stack of boards without computers, and so he gave me. He sold me one. Got a very good price though. JJ Brubaker, just purchased a SCSI card for my SE30 from your website. Thanks. Oh, well, excellent. So which one did you buy? Could you please tell me, JJ Brubaker? I'm curious. £7,500 power button broken 4 pieces simply by pressing it once. I had a little bit of a joke, a little bit of a fun joke with my Maciac friends once. I was working on some Macs, and I was working on one of these spindle plastic Macs, and the plastic had just broken into a million pieces. So I just picked up a handful of plastic, and I photographed the plastic, and I sent it to the guys, and I said, "Can you guess what computer this is from just by looking at the broken pieces of plastic?" And if I remember rightly, I think Steve got it right. Right, so here we go. We're going to zoom out a little bit here so we can see more of the board. This thing is a bit bigger than the power supply we were just looking at. So here we have. Thank you very much, Jay. You know what I need to do? I need to make an overlay and potentially like with a QR code or something in it so people can just scan their phone and just go to the website. Fully assembled, BlueSCSI. So fully assembled BlueSCSI, including card, 7.5.5. Cool. Thank you very much, Adam. I appreciate that. Your stuff will go out tomorrow. I actually had lots of online sales this weekend. I'm not sure. People are obviously just feeling a little bit flush with money at the moment. So, yeah. Thank you very much for putting this up here, Jay. They have 3D printed power buttons on eBay, but they want $25. Yeah, I've got a 3D printer, so I can print these things out if I need them. But I've got the most damaged Mac I have is an LC630, and it was one that had some very minor plastic damage on it. And I was repairing it. I was taking the panels off, and I was using the trick that you use with the super glue and bicarb soda to actually build things up with the glue. If people aren't aware of that trick, it's a very good one to know. You can use super glue and bicarb soda, sodium bicarbonate, as to create like clumps of extremely strong sticky stuff. So, yeah, I was making this LC630 better and better, and then I one day accidentally knocked it off the table, and it landed on the ground, and the plastic, all of the plastic that I had been trying to repair and everything, just broke into squazillion pieces. And yeah, I was not too happy about it, but the computer still works, so I guess that's something. Invest in an expensive 3D printer. It will change your life, and you'll be a real pain in the ass to talk to, because you'll just want to talk about 3D printing stuff all the time, and then people will be like, "Man, this guy, don't invite him to dinner, because all he wants to do is talk about his 3D printer all day long." I'm not sure how I know that. Baking soda. There we go. So I keep a container of it here. We call it baking soda as well. But I have a container of it here, if you can see that in this top view. And I just use that, and then you get your super glue, which I've got floating around here somewhere. And you put super glue down, and then you sprinkle this over it. Then you put a little bit more super glue down, and you sprinkle this over it. And you can end up building very, very strong stuff. If I need to build big stuff, I'm more likely to use like a like an epoxy resin or something like that. But the super glue does an amazing job. Wish there was smaller than 3 AAA battery replacements for 4.5 volt battery LC575 and up machine. So you're talking about that, was it Rayvac? I think that was the brand of battery, a Rayvac battery. Yeah, the little square one that goes on these and sticks onto this little bit of Velcro here. I am actually planning to make a 3D printed one of those that works with CR2032 batteries. So just stacking 3 of those lithium batteries, one on top of the other, putting inside a little thing into a little 3D printed plastic holder, and then have the wires running out of it. Now the only thing stopping me from doing that is, of course, I've got to work out how I'm going to do the wires and stuff like that. But it is my plan to go in and I've got to work out how I'm going to do the wires and the springs and the metal contacts and stuff. But it is my intention to make a more suitable replacement for the Rayvac battery that these had. Rayovac. Okay, I was close, wasn't I? Hello, Vandelay Industries. Thank you very much for that. I have an LC580. Can anything be done to save or strengthen that case that doesn't have any damage yet? Well, short answer is no. I have not found anyone who has been able to find a sort of kind of a real solution of actually finding anything that you might actually, I don't know, paint on it and penetrate the surface to actually go in and make them stronger. So at this stage, the short answer to that is no. What I do know is that apparently dry environments make the plastics more brittle. Now, that's not an invitation to go and keep that computer in a humidor or something like that, because moisture damages other things. But I'm just letting you know that it is apparently, if it's being stored in a very dry environment, you may see that plastic deteriorate faster. But look, seriously, if one day someone discovers a process that, maybe there's something you can paint on the outside and it'll make the plastic, more flexible rather than brittle, geez, that would be awesome. 4 volt. Okay. Right, sorry, I am missing some of these chats, and I apologise for that. Cut a 9-volt battery in half. Be fun. Actually, you can cut a 9-volt battery in half if you cut it in the right direction, because a 9-volt battery is actually just 6 little 1.5-volt batteries inside it. If anyone has ever opened one of them up, and that's why they're that shape, because they're 2 rows of 3 batteries inside that little metal canister. So if you take the metal out from the outside, you'll find inside 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1.5-volt little tiny 1.5-volt batteries in there. So if you cut it down right down the center, you can probably cut it in half to a 4.5-volt. Okie dokie. All right, so time for us to do some recapping here. I'm spending way too much time here playing with my new streaming software, and I haven't done any decent work today at all. So in the interest of being interesting, or trying to be anyway, I am now going to start recapping, because this is what it says on the name of the live stream. Recapping a Macintosh LC575. You see it zooming across the bottom there? Zoom, 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 zoom. Got to find my heat shields, which are under things here. The desk is very, very dirty at the moment. I do plan to, excuse me, fix that today. Oops. Yep, I just noticed a little comment from from Jay from House of Moth. I should actually mention a couple of things about this. I really do need to provide a few plugs here today. So one of the people I haven't plugged in a while is Jay from House of Moth, and he does have a YouTube channel, and it's been a while since he's posted any content, but that's okay. I mean, life gets busy. But what he also has is this rather awesome website called appleserialnumberinfo.com. And the great thing about that is you can go in and you can put in your serial number and it'll bring up a whole stack of information about that computer. Now, what you might be saying, well, I can do that with every Mac. Well, everymac.com. Yes, you'd be right, except there are a few things that Jay's has that every Mac doesn't have. First of all, it can give you more detailed information about your computer. It's likely to tell you where it was made, exactly when it was made. It can go in and give you like the manufacture date and the location of manufacture, that sort of stuff. It has links to some important things like, you know, whether there are some known problems with those sorts of computers. It has links to where you can buy peripherals and stuff. And but here's the one for me, which is the big thing. That appleserialnumberinfo.com website is forever updating. And at the moment, he is working very hard on getting vintage Macs in there as well. So you can go in and you can search serial numbers of your old Macs, and it'll give you information about them. So fix it wrong. I'll try. Okay, Daniel Hansen, I would like to just respond to your question here, and then I'm going to go back to where I was talking about before. So, Daniel, I was wondering if Bruce would get back to the SE30 in the last live stream. I mentioned this at the beginning of this live stream, right at the beginning, and that is that with that SE30 that I was working on, I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. After taking it out, I found 4 broken traces down near the battery explosion. I fixed those broken traces, started it up, got a chime, but still got CMAC on the display, that pattern on the display. I then also noticed a lot of gunge around the MUX chips, the multiplexer chips coming out of the RAM. And so I decided I would remove and clean around that area, remove the chips and clean around that area. And when I removed one of the chips, a pin fell off one of those. And so I need to get replacements. So I've put in an order. They're coming from China, but it just means that I can't really do anything else on that until those replacements arrive. So I will be doing a follow-up stream of that. But until then, yeah, we're just going to have to wait. It's just sitting waiting for stuff. So, as I was mentioning, Apple serial number, I really should put this up here. And of course, the other really important thing about appleserialnumberinfo.com, for people, if you are going to visit it, on the landing page, there is a monthly poll. He puts 3 or 4 different computers up there, and you vote for your favorite. And then at the end of the month, it becomes the Mac of the month. Now, what have we got up there this month, Jay? I'm curious to know. I did look at it and I did vote. There was something there that I really like, and I can't remember what it was. But anyhow, so, you know, when you get a chance, jump onto that website, the appleserialnumberinfo.com, and go in and put in your vote for the Mac of the month, of the choices that are there, and that. 840AV is there, yeah. I love the 840AV. I mean, apart from the fact that it's the brittle plastics and they're a nightmare to work on. They're a very fast 040 computer at the time, and I used to use one at the company that I used to work for, and I love them. But having touched some recently, the fact that everything snaps, everything breaks when you touch them. It's awful. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to here because I didn't get enough time here. I want to say thank you, Mike, for the super chat. Singing answer. Right, let's continue getting these caps off because it is taking me such a long time to work on this board. This is one of the boards that I don't mind working on too much, simply because there aren't that many caps that need replacing. I don't know, it's about 7 or something like that. It's not like working on an LC2 or something like that. Or even a Classic 2. One of those has 17 bloody caps on it, one of those board revisions. 17. Now, this particular Mac, this LC575, there are a couple of things that worry me about it. The owner of this board told me that it was working fine, and then all of a sudden they started getting the sad Mac chime, and I think it could well be from the caps. Now, what I'm really worried about is sometimes the Sad Mac chime can actually be something has got damaged and not just recapping. But, as I have said many times when it comes to recapping, there's very little point in going down a diagnostic path when you know that there's already a fault there. You fix that fault, and then you see what happens, and then you go down that diagnostic path. And the fault that this one has is leaky capacitors. So we're going to replace the leaky capacitors. Then we're going to test it. Then if it still doesn't work, we'll start looking into how to fix it. I'll just grab some of this tape. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll use. I'll use a bit of aluminum foil. I just want to give some additional protection to the to all the plastic around the outside here, because there is a lot of it. There we go. This is a spot where solder tweezers would be really, really handy. But here's something that annoys the stuff out of me. My Hacko soldering station does not have a solder tweezer attachment for it. I have to buy the really expensive one if I want to attach solder tweezers. And they make me cross. Off comes one. Off comes two. Off comes three. And let's hope that I didn't burn anything, because if I did, it's embarrassing. I didn't. So yeah, I'm losing the chat here. 840 AV crumbles when I look at it wrong. I had a is it 8150 or something? 82, I can't remember. It's one of those Power PC ones. I had two of them. I gave one away. I gave one away to a guy who actually tipped me off on a really good listing, or a local listing with a bunch of Macs for sale. He was out of town and couldn't claim it, so he said, "Hey, I can't get it, so you can have it if you want." And I did, and with that, I picked up two 8100 or something, I don't know, something like that. And I don't need two. To be honest, I don't even need one. So I gave him one. But they were incredible. I mean, just taking the cover off. So for people who don't know, that when you take the cover off, I unscrew these little screws down the back, and then you pull the cover towards you, the big metal cover that comes forward. And I did that, undid it, pulled it towards me, and as I pulled the cover towards me, I could just hear 1,000 pieces of plastic breaking. We had a popper. Where's the smoker? We found the smoker. And that was the involuntary noise that I make when a cap blows up. Sounds something like "Whee!" Just heard a kookaburra outside. Probably not. I would have probably noticed. What you probably heard was a raven. They're very common around here, and they make a very kind of sound. And if I notice one when it makes a noise again, I'll let you know. But more like, we do get kookaburras here, but not as frequently. We do occasionally get them sort of turning up. But the ravens, they are very common. They everywhere. Ow. This is the downside to using gloves. When you're using the hot air station, you don't. If your finger happens to be in the way of the hot air, you don't immediately feel it, because the rubber absorbs the heat, and then eventually the rubber gets really, really hot, and then when you realise it and you move your finger out of the way, it's too late because the rubber's burning you. This is the thing that I don't like about this board. All of these caps are close to plastic. and that cheeses me off. Hello, Starbuck Tech. Welcome to the live stream. Hello to you. I hope you are well. Oh yes, I should do the old. How long do you wash your motherboards in the ultrasonic cleaner for? It varies a lot on the board. On a board like this that's really not particularly dirty or anything, once I've done it, I really only need to leave it on there long enough just to get any residual dust off and any of the flux that's left behind for me doing the recapping. So if one like this, I'd probably do for about 10 minutes aside, tops. If I've got a really bad one that's covered in crusty corrosion and gunk and looking really nasty, I'm then more likely to go maybe even up to about 25 minutes aside. So that's probably about how long I do it for. Just heard a kangaroo outside. Now I can tell you one thing, we do not get kangaroos here. We're a little bit too suburban for kangaroos. I don't have to travel too far to see them, but yeah, definitely not here in suburbia. We don't get kangaroos here. Whee! Phew, that was a puffer. There's the smoking gun, folks. It's nice when they like to show you their insides like that. Mark Purdy, hello. Thank you for joining. Currently sitting on about 45 viewers as far as I can see at the moment. So, after the ultrasonic, do you soak it in isopropyl? How long? I do put it in isopropyl. I don't soak it in there. I basically put it in there. I swizzle it around for probably 10 seconds, something like that. Then I sort of rinse, drip it off, and then I chuck it in an oven. I have a little oven in here. I picked it up from like Goodwill for insanely cheap. It's a really, really good little toaster oven. It's one that just you plug into the mains power, and I can set it at really, really low temperatures. So I tend to dry the boards at around about 60 degrees Celsius, and I do it for about an hour. It probably doesn't need an hour, but I'd rather err on the side of caution. Rather have them too dry than not dry enough, because there's no such thing as too dry. This one's going to go. Whee! God, I hope I didn't just tear a pad. No, I didn't. Cool. It wasn't ready to come off, but thankfully I didn't wreck it. What did I want to mention here? Just it's got this little. No, that's not it. No, that's here. It is. This little S1. Little pins here. It's an option for a switch. It's like a CUDA reset. And this is the little CUDA chip here, or also known as the egret chip. I have no egrets. Okay, let's see if we can find one of these that popped. There we go. This is one that popped, and you can see that the. Oh, is that? No, that's not a popper. Oh, it is. I think yeah. You can see the rubber seal blows out. So what happens is the contents get really hot, and then that blows out this this rubber seal, and just lets a whole bunch of that smoke that's built up inside out. And I'm just trying to get this out. Can I get this out? Yeah. I'm going to wreck my tweezers, aren't I? How'd you come? I have a kind of a general recapping video that I recorded a long time ago. I probably need to do an update to it, but in that one I actually pull one of these apart so you can see what they look like inside. There we go. So I got all the rubber out. And you can actually see, if I get this in focus and hold it in a nice suitable position, let's zoom in a bit. You can see it's all rolled up inside there. You can see that? That's basically paper that's been soaked in electrolyte, and it's all rolled up into a little ball there, and then it has a little layer of metal in between each layer. So there you go. That's an electrolytic capacitor. Isn't that exciting? Okay, that's enough of that. Bears and deer. Well, we certainly don't get those here. Oh, some people may have missed it. I should do it, shouldn't I? I was going to do it, but I didn't earlier. So what Jay is referring to in his little comment is I need to make sure people don't forget to
Smash that like button.
Thank you. All right. It's got electrolytes. Yeah, it's got Gatorade in it. All right. All the caps are off now. We've just got to clean them up. And I do that by applying a liberal amount of flux onto these old pads. Going to add some new solder. And we're going to clean them up, and then we're going to lift the solder off, and we'll be left with nice clean pads that look like new, all ready for new components to go on them. Won't that be nice? Won't that be nice? I think this one is only 47/16. I don't think there are any other size caps on this at all. Yeah. So anyhow, what did I want to do? Oh, I want to turn on my exhaust fume thingy extractor. So you're going to hear this, I'm afraid. Not much I can do about that. It just makes noise. Might be better when I get my new microphone. I am getting a new microphone, so... Oh, crap. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Sorry, things falling down. JJ Brubaker, plenty of ruse at my local club in Creswick. They've been known to pick up the odd ball. Alright, okay, so let's go in and start doing the cleaning process. I've done this many times before if you haven't seen it. I add some flux, I get some fresh solder, I get my iron, I go in and do a little bit of a swirly action. I want to make it so that the pads will take solder right across the full length. You can see this one here it's got this kind of corner. Let me see if I can focus this a bit better. Is it getting better or is it getting worse? Can't tell. Oh, it's getting worse. I've got a little bit of a delay with what's going on here. So anyhow, I hope that's enough. But you can see there's this little area on the corner here where it's not accepting solder, and that's because it's still got gunk on it. It's dirty. But I keep doing this until that gunk is gone, until it's clean, until it's just nice, yummy metal that's ready to accept some solder. Now, I don't know if anyone has noticed what I have noticed here, but we're going to have to do a little bit of cleaning. And I'll show you that as soon as I've finished removing this solder. Solder, solder, solder. There we go. I am so hungry. I do it all the time. I start these live streams without having any breakfast. And by the time I finish, it's like after lunchtime and I'm ravenous. Okay, so what I was pointing out before when I said that I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can see this blackening along here. Let me just clean it up a bit so you can see it a bit better. We've got some blackening going along here. Now it's still conductive. There's not going to be a problem with this actually not conducting, but what has happened is there's some corrosion starting underneath that UV mask, and that will potentially get worse. So I'm going to expose that mask, I'm going to clean up that copper, and we're going to put some solder on it, make it look nice, and then we'll probably put some UV mask on the top. Just want to mention, I've had a few people in comments go in and say things like, what sort of microscope do you use, or what's that green stuff you put on there, or where can I buy this, or where can I buy that? You will find information about everything that I use, pretty much everything that I use, in the description. If you look in the description, you don't find what you're looking for, please feel free to ask. But what I would recommend is if you are interested in any of the things that I use here, do check the description first, because I'm pretty sure I've covered all the important ones. I really don't feel like that's sucking any out. Okay, turn it up and turn it a teeny bit. Okay, so we've gotten rid of the black on that. There. And now we've just got nice shiny solder. Got some protection on there. I get some here. What multimeter do you use? That's a good question. I don't have that in there, do I? Isn't that? Oh, that's something I'm going to need to add. I use a Fluke 115. What's it there? What I can tell you about Fluke multimeters is they are very expensive. Some might say overpriced, but you never doubt what gets shown on the screen here. That's a really important thing. Whatever it shows you up on here, you have 100% faith that it is showing you the correct number. And I have owned some multimeters in the past where I haven't had that faith. So you do get what you pay for. They're a very, very well-made multimeter, but there are cheaper options out there if you're wanting to get some. What I would recommend is, I don't know if anyone has seen EEV blog with David Jones, another Australian with a kind of weird voice. He is super smart, and he has done, I think, quite a few reviews of like inexpensive multimeters and chosen his best, so his favourite. So I'd recommend jumping onto the EEV blog. Well, he's got a blog, but he also has a YouTube channel, and having a look at what he recommends, because I would have complete faith in what he would recommend in terms of recommending a multimeter. So there you go. What toothpaste do you use? I use Colgate. I don't know why, but I use Colgate. It is a nice minty fresh toothpaste. Can't say much more about it than that. Fluke network test that is awesome. It was also like $2.5 grand. Yeah, I mean, when I bought the multimeter, that Fluke multimeter, I know there were moments where I was just like, I cannot believe I'm spending so much money on a multimeter. I'd never spent that much money before. But interestingly, every multimeter I've ever owned has had a problem. You know, inexpensive ones. There's been something about it that I don't like. There's been something about the way it's been made or the way it operates, and I haven't liked it. And I decided, why buy another one that might also have another thing I don't like about it? Let's just go with the good one. And it's a justifiable cost for what I do here. I mean, really, it's something that I use so much. It just makes sense to buy a good quality one. I also have a oscilloscope, but I don't have that down here because I don't really have room to set it up. I do most of my scope testing up there, up in the house. What is the average velocity of an unladen swallow? Yes, that's right. It's an African or European swallow. We're big on the Holy Grail references, aren't we? What's that line? Strange women distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. That's one of my favourite lines from that movie. Oh dear. You got to tear it apart. And of course, another EEV blog line. I'm going to tip this upside down. All the electrons are going to fall out. It's a terrible impression of him. Sorry. So I'm using a UV laser here. So this is a little laser that emits UV light, and I'm using this to cure this this UV solder mask. It does a very good job of it. I just feel like I'm out of focus here. don't know. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Okay, so this is pretty much hardened now. Heater's a little bit close to my leg. I'm starting to burn my shin. Some who call me Tim. We should just call this the Holy Grail show, shouldn't we? Okay, we're just continuing with the cleaning here. Going to just make these ones look really nice. I don't think there's been much leakage going on here. Definitely an indication of leakage on the last ones that I did. Those are the two, I think they're the 200 microfarad 6.3 volt from memory. From memory. Dave Hughes. People wouldn't know, the US people would not know who Dave Hughes is here. He's a sort of celebrity, a radio celebrity. And he tends to, he's got this real, like, you know, my name's Hughesy. I don't do it very well. There's this one guy that does an amazing Hughesy impression, but anyhow. Where are we? Give that a little bit of a clean. As you can see, with a board of this vintage, you know, where the corrosion isn't too bad, it's really not too difficult to get these looking good. You know, these pads compared to some of the other boards. Like if I was working on, say, a 2CI or an SE30, where it does take me quite some time to get these pads happy to accept solder again. But these ones are a walk in the park. Do you own stock in Goodwick? No, I should though, because by gum I go through a lot of it. One of the really handy things from my perspective is that my local electronics reseller, which is around about, I don't know, 1.5 kilometres, 2 kilometres that way. So it's not even 2 kilometres that way. Which I walk to regularly for a little bit of exercise. They sell Goodwick. It's the only brand of wick they sell, Goodwick. So anytime I need more, I just head over there and buy it. It's awesome. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony. There we go, another Holy Grail. Thank you, Shady Robot. Thank you very much for the super chat. It is much appreciated. I've got a lot of super chats here today. I wonder if it's because I make them appear on the screen there. People like seeing them up on the screen. But I do appreciate everyone that super chats. It does make doing this more enjoyable. Feels like I'm doing stuff with purpose. When people are actually saying, "Yeah, I'm paid to watch this," it's like, wow, I have a purpose on this world. Whoops. Just a reminder to folks that if you have questions for me at any time, I'm always happy to answer them. I've had a few people asking questions here today, like how long I put things in the ultrasonic cleaner for, and I think someone asked me something else as well about doing certain things a certain way. Always happy to answer it. My way is never the right way, it is just the way that works for me. Simple as that. What's the t-shirt say today? I'll show you. I love this one. It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. This is my Flowbills body lotion. Okay. It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. So here's a reference to the Silence of the Lambs, which is one of my favourite films. I enjoy that film very much. Yeah, and I saw this shirt and I immediately laughed, which is terrible because I know it's not a comedy or anything like that, but it's just the whole it rubs the lotion on its skin has has become a thing of its own, hasn't it? If you haven't seen The Silence of the Lambs, for goodness sake, watch it. It is such a good film. I mean, I can pretty much watch it any time. Love it. What gauge of Goodwick is that? This I am currently using 2mm. So they basically come in the width of the actual thingy there, and they come in I think 1.5, 2, and 3. I think, and I'll be honest, I think the 2mm sucks better than the other ones do. I think it sucks up the solder better than the other ones. So I've just always used 2. So yeah. I know it probably doesn't, but it just feels like it does. Okay, got a good question here for Adam McGee. What's your opinion on recapping with electrolytic caps instead of tantalums? My opinion is it's fine. I really have no issue with it at all. I mean, most of the time people are asking me to recap with tantalums because tantalums don't leak. Tantalums are very reliable and they have a very long lifespan. So the idea is we're going to recap them with tantalum so that we don't need to potentially recap them again in the future. But I'll be quite honest, if you were to recap this today with modern surface mount electrolytic capacitors, you probably never have to recap it again anyway. Or maybe not in my lifetime anyway. So I think, in particular if people are buying good quality, long life electrolytic caps, it's absolutely no issue at all. An issue, that was me doing David Hughes. Issues. And of course the other thing you can do is you can recap with polymer caps. They look like surface mount electrolytic. They're often different colours. They'll often have little cyan or magenta colouring on the printing, and they're polymer caps. They use a powder instead of a liquid so that they will never really dry out, and they have a very good long lifespan. The only problem with those I have found is they're not available. I haven't been able to find them in all the different sizes we potentially use on recapping a Mac. So I can, if someone said to me, hey, can you recap with polymers, I can recap some of it in polymers, but I can't do the whole thing because there are some that I just can't find. And that's probably because these days you would not use a cap like that if you were designing something new, or if you're designing a modern thing, you would probably be using a different type of cap, something probably smaller, probably a tantalum. There's also niobium. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. I know it sounds like a made-up word from a science fiction show or something, but there are capacitors called, I think it's niobium capacitors. They are very, very similar to tantalum, except they use a metal called niobium instead of tantalum. And they're generally not as available as tantalums, not as many sizes available. Alright, well I think that's all of the caps removed and cleaned, so we're ready to put new ones on. I better get my recapping guide here. I still haven't done an overlay for my recapping website. I will do that in the future. GT, hello, welcome to the live stream. We're testing out the new software here, by the way, GT, so seeing how it all goes. I'm hopefully getting a little bit quicker on this so that when we do the Mac show I'll be all ready for it. But one thing I can tell you is I have spent a huge amount of time today while I was doing this recapping pressing buttons and making the picture look pretty, which of course I've generally not had that issue in the past. Alright, so we are looking at an LC575, so yes, we have two 100 microfarad 6.3 and 10 4716. Just there's 10 of them? Jeez, I didn't think it was that many. So that's 12 capacitors we've got to replace. What the hell, man? Right. Anyone know where I put my caps? Anyone? Anyone? You tell me now. I won't get mad. In there, in they go. Thank you. I think they're down here. Ah, here we are. Wasn't too far away at all. Righty. The electronic parts can have the parts, and I find it easier to solder those. Yes, you wouldn't be the first person. One of the really important things to keep in mind about putting electrolytic caps on these when you're recapping is they were originally made with electrolytic caps. So the solder pads are the right size for electrolytic capacitors. When you use these ones, these tantalums, they're not the same size. They don't fit onto these pads. And that can actually cause problems, and I'm going to demonstrate that now. So, here's a little spot, right? Super little spot here. We have got, I'm going to get some tweezers to point at this, because this is really important. If anyone is doing their own recapping, please pay attention to this, because it's so important. What we have here is a spot for a capacitor. As you can see, these pads are the right size for putting a surface mount electrolytic. Now this tantalum, we're looking at it upside down here, see how wide that pad is, or that pin? That pin is wider than this pad. And as you can see, it hangs over the edge. Now, big deal. But what we have here is we have, this one here is the positive end, and you can see it's part of this trace here. It's going along there. And this is the negative. And this is joined to all of this. So all of this area here is the negative. Now, if while I was working on this and cleaning it or whatever, imagine I damaged this UV mask here, this this solder mask that's sitting on top. Imagine that was damaged, and a little piece of copper got exposed just there where I'm pointing, right there. Then I go and get this with the wider pin. I put it on top, and I accidentally create a bridge from there to the little bit of exposed copper here, and I now create a short to ground in here that is not meant to be there. And that is one of the most common problems with recaps that don't work afterwards. And I would recommend that everyone be very aware of that when they're recapping. Be very aware of what is going on. You got the same thing going on here. As you can see, this positive goes down into this via. You can't see that because, let's get this out of the way. You've got this this going down here into this via, and then you've got this negative is joined to all of this copper here. All of this flat plane of copper here is joined to that there. And once again, if I put a nick, if there was a nick here under this mask, and then I put the cap down and I create a bridge across it, and the next thing you know, your thing's not working. So just be aware of that, folks, if you're doing your own recapping. Very important. Alejandro Moreno, welcome. If you recap it and your power supply starts clicking, check for shorts. Yes, generally one of the reasons why they get that clipping is that clicking happening is because there's sort of like checks when you power something up. There's kind of like feedback checks to find out that the power supply is working and power is going where it's meant to go. And if you've got a situation where the power is being sucked away by a short to ground, the power supply, when it's doing its checks, it knows something is wrong, and so it switches itself off. And then it comes back on again, and then it switches itself off. Then it comes back on again, then it switches itself off. And that's what the clicking is. It's like its little safety mechanism. Unless, of course, that's not the case and I'm making it all up, and then it's something else. Alright, this is a capacitor here with the number 107, which means it's 10 followed by 7 zeros. So that's a total of, it's 1 with 8 zeros after it. And that is the measurement of this capacitor in picofarads. And that works out at 100 microfarads. Oh, come on. Thank you. Why is the negative pad so large beneath the solder mask? I mean, the pad itself is not large. Are you asking why is that negative all on one big plane like that? I'm not sure I follow the question. Because the pads are both the same size. When I'm putting two together like this, I always work very, very hard to make sure that they're even, that they are positioned right next to each other, because if you happen to get them out, one's further forward than the other or one's slightly crooked, it's really noticeable. You really see it afterwards. So, let's get some... Basically when I'm doing these, I always put the solder onto the tip of the iron first. That is not how I recommend you do wiring, soldering when you're doing through-hole. When you're doing surface mount like this is how I prefer to solder. I use flux on the board, which helps the solder travel to where it needs to go. And then I melt a little bit onto the tip, so I've got a nice controlled amount of solder there. And then I just do this, and as you can see, we end up with a nice, neat, tidy little solder join there. Isn't it pretty? There we go. That is correct current limiting for short or too much load. Yes, so this is something worth mentioning. Tantalum are typically marked opposite of an electrolytic, which is exactly correct. This is something I do regularly mention in my videos, but because I say it so many times, I worry about people getting bored with it. We have, I don't know why whoever who came up with tantalum capacitors or made the decision that the stripe was going on the positive side. I don't know why they decided to torture us so, but yes, it is exactly right. When you have an electrolytic capacitor, there's always a stripe or a mark on the negative. When you have a tantalum capacitor, the stripe is on the positive. And I do honestly think that was done just to confuse us. When I was very, very early doing recapping, I had done maybe one, maybe two recaps. So not many. So the work I was doing was still pretty awful. But I had done a couple of successful recaps. That was all good. And then I came back, I had a pause and I came back and did another recap. And enough time had gone by for me to forget that the stripe was on the positive side for tantalum. And I recapped an entire LC2, I think it was. It was my own, and it was battery bombed. But I recapped the whole thing with every single replacement cap around the wrong way. It's many years ago now, but I just thought it was worth mentioning that I do make mistakes. Rather a lot, actually. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. But I don't make mistakes like that anymore. And because I do very thoroughly check my work. It's a very important part of doing recapping. One of the most common questions I get asked is, I have recapped my board and it still doesn't work. What should I do? And of course, my most common reply to that is, you've got to check your work. That's the most important thing to do. Check your work. Oh, that's right. I've got to blow up a capacitor. I sat there daring Joe from Joe's Computer Museum to blow up an electrolytic cap the other day. He chickened out, and I remembered that it's something I have to do on my live stream. So once we finish this, we're going to blow up a cap. And we're going to do that fairly simply. We're going to get the lab power supply. We're going to set that at a particular voltage and amperage. And then we are going to connect the positive to the negative and the negative to the positive. And we're going to hit it with some volts, more than it wants, and see what it does. Now, again, it's one of these things where we, of course, have to say, don't try this at home, kiddies. To be honest, I really shouldn't be trying it either, because I have minimal safety protection here. I have a fire extinguisher, which is something. But people may or may not have seen things blow up in this workshop before. I had a tantalum capacitor, a 35-year-old tantalum capacitor, blow up just because it was old, no other reason. And that was an exciting moment. I let out one or two unsavoury words during that. So I just realised these were crooked, and that will not do. Not for a branches. That's why the negative plane extends so far beyond the area of the negative pad where it's possible to create a bridge. Yeah, well, it's done. I think you'll probably find it's from a manufacturing perspective that it just makes it easier for them for that negative to just be all over the whole board, so that anything that needs to attach to it is easier. But yeah, I mean, this thing, and if you look at this board, you see all of that. That's all negative there. All that solid copper there, that's all just one big plane of negative. And it's obviously something to do with the way this board was designed. They've just designed it in a way that where negative is just everywhere. Negative, 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 negative. And you can actually see these are the little clippy things that that ground this to the chassis of the computer. I don't know if it's some sort of, I don't know. I would just be guessing. I don't know. Not all of the boards are like this, but this one is. So there you go. How's that for a good answer? I know exactly what you're asking, but I really don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid. So I'll have to say pass. Someone here might know. I often get a lot of very clever people watching my live stream. Way cleverer than me. There we go. I got to play. You know what I'm going to do? Dana does stuff. I'm actually going to redo that clip because I've found some better sounds that I can use in it. I'm going to redo it, and then I will occasionally put that onto one of my live streams, just for giggles. When I'm working around here, I always want to be very careful that I don't melt that the fins here on this connector on the left. When I get these boards and I see melting there, it's always an indication of someone a little new to recapping, and I certainly don't want to send my stuff back from this workshop looking like an amateur. One of the things that I always do on this channel is I try and encourage people to get in and do this themselves. And I mean that. I do mean it. I do want them to try. But at the same time, I absolutely don't want to... I hate working on boards where someone has had a go at it and has messed it up. That's always a lot more difficult to repair than one that just came to me fresh. It's like, this needs recapping, great. And it's like, this needed recapping, now it needs recapping and repair. Ba-ba-ba-bum. It's RF shield. See, that's what I was thinking, Thomas Armstrong. I was thinking that that very thing myself, but I thought, nah. If it's not, then I end up looking like a tool. Addition is perfect. No, I think I can make it better, Jay. I think we need, rather than just one sound repeated, we need two different sounds, and I think one of them needs to be really long. I've got these sound effects that I want. I just need to do the editing. So I love the video, don't get me wrong, Jay, but I just want to make a few... I should turn it into a TikTok, shouldn't I? Does anyone know what a TikTok is? I don't. But people tell me. They say, You should do that as a TikTok. They go, ah, okay, I'll tick that tock then. One's higher than the other, isn't it? This one is higher than the other one. How badly is that going to bother me? Let me have a look at it with a nude eye. Ah, you can't tell with a nude eye. If you can't tell with a nude eye, I'm fine. Oh dear, the old reefers. I remember having a reefer explode in here, which is normal. I mean, you expect that. I was working on a particular power supply and I fired it up, and I think I'd put power in it. I was about to do some testing, and then I got a text message. So I was answering the text, and then all of a sudden the reefer blew up while I was texting, and just filled this room with that smell that stays in your nostrils for ages, and it's awful, and I don't like it. I might do this side first. I generally say for everyone, when you're recapping, solder the easy side first, because then you get the capacitor in the position you want. You've got room to move, and then you just need to do the fiddly stuff for the other side without having to actually try and get the positioning of the component right. So I need to now solder this, but can I get in there without melting? I'm not happy about it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap over to a conical tip. That's what she said. I'm going to just grab that, get my little bent conical tip that allows me to solder around corners. Very handy thing to be able to do. And hello Ron, and thank you for joining the stream. The new graphics, it's a subscription, unfortunately. This is one of the problems with these sorts of things. But I'm fairly happy with it. This is a very simple to use product that I'm using. It's a thing called StreamYard, and it is very, very easy to use. That's one good thing about it. There are a couple of features that I wish it had that it doesn't have, but on the whole, I'm pretty pleased with it. And of course, I love being able to bring the comments and the super chats up onto the screen here for people to see. I think it's a very good thing to be able to do that. So yes, quite happy with it. Jay always likes to comment on the fact that I'm using a conical tip. We have a little. Both of us are not huge fans of conical tips, but there are times when that bent conical tip can do things for me that the other tips cannot do, and that's why I use it. Using the right tools for the job. That's me. Okay, I'm going to go back to my normal tip now, because the fact is I really hate conicals. Ow. TikTok is all vertical videos, which make me insane. I understand that. To be honest, I just don't get it. I'm probably just too old. But I watch people getting into TikTok and watching these videos, and they're sharing them, and I look at them and I think they're not funny, they're not interesting. I don't know, why are you watching this? I don't understand it. And I don't know. I just don't know. I'm just getting too old. People turn around and say, "Hey, boomer," even though I'm not a boomer. Yeah, stupid. There we go. Significantly younger than you, and I don't get TikTok either. Yeah, good. Oh dear. Come on. I don't want to do the conical thing again. I'll lose all my cred. We're going conical again, folks. Good old, what are they, paper film capacitors, I think they were, the reefers. This is Jay objecting to the conical again. But look at the way I can get in here. Look. Look at that. It's like a ninja. I'm just getting in here soldering like a ninja. I should just start calling it the ninja tip. And can I even be bothered to change tips for these last two? I might just end up doing these with conical as well. Yeah. This is the last two capacitors, by the way, and then we can potentially test it, assuming my Color Classic is going to behave itself. It won't work properly because it's Color Classic and it's not modded, but it should still chime. And the problem with this one prior to recapping was sad Mac chime. We will at least be able to tell whether we get a sad Mac chime. I'm not getting enough heat from this stupid conical tip. Piffle. That's the problem with a conical tip. Getting the heat where you want it. Alright, okay. Alright, you win. Actually, I am going to need the conical for this one here. So I will use it for this, and then I'm going to go back to the other tip. Anyone seen any good films lately? I'm looking for good films to watch. I like kind of well-written, good scripts. I don't mind a good action. I watched a few good ones lately. What did I see? I saw a film called Rush, which is about Niki Lauda and some other racing car person, with Chris Hemsworth in it. And then I watched something else the other day. Oh, I watched Spotlight. That was an amazing film. Wowzers. Geez, that was well made. Soldering irons, TS100, good enough? Would notice a big difference? Well, I can tell you. I have a TS100 and I use it quite... Oh, I missed, got the wrong one. There we go. So. Okay, so. Oh, yes, sorry, I should... Okay, Mr. Fahrenheit, what do you think about people who say you shouldn't use 16 volt 47 caps, that you should use higher always? And that has been answered very well by Thomas, and that is the fact that these are already higher than they need to be. So that's why I'm quite happy to just put 16s on there. What was I talking about? There was something here. Okay, so TS100. Here's a really important thing about a TS100. TS100 uses a variation of the T12 tip. Hacko uses the T12 tip, and the TS100 uses a variation of it. I've actually got one here. I think I can show you what the tip looks like. Anyone? Is it here, or I'll move it somewhere else? Must be somewhere else. But anyhow, they do use a variation. Oh, here it is. This is a tip from a TS100. That's it there. And you can see if we compare it to like a T12 tip, they're quite similar, and they've got the same connector at the bottom. and they're both ones where the heating element is inside the tip, but you can see they're quite a bit shorter, and it has this little knobbly bit on the end there. Now, I am a big fan of the TS100. I have a TS100 that I use as my inside soldering iron. So if I ever need to do any soldering in the house, I use that one up there. I've got a power supply I built for it, purpose-made power supply I made for it. So this is my out in the shed soldering iron. Then I got my in the house soldering iron, which is the TS100. I've actually got another one as well over here somewhere. It's one of those. It's another T12 iron, which I can highly recommend if I can find it. It's like the KSGER one, but it's a different brand. But yeah, so you can do a lot with a TS100. The only thing I don't like about it is when you're holding the thing. If I'm holding my Hacko here, from where I hold it, so where my fingers are, to where the tip is, it's only, what is that, about 4 centimeters, a couple of inches. So you've actually got a lot of precise control because this thing is not far away. When you're using a TS100, you would typically be holding it here, and you can see that there's quite a lot of distance between where I'd be holding this and where the tip is. It's it's a good couple more centimeters or another inch in length there, which means it does make it a little bit harder to do the really precise stuff because you're further away from your fingers. Now there is a workaround for that. If you go buy yourself a cheap one of these, just not the Hacko, just the handle, a cheap one of these, even just a knockoff one on eBay, there is a 3D printed thing you can make up to fit onto the TS100 that allows you to then use these standard T12 tips and use this clipped in. And so you use your TS100 using these tips. I've done it to mine, and it's absolutely bloody awesome. So, but anyhow, TS100, great soldering iron. As long as you've got enough power feeding it, it gets nice high temperatures. Great little soldering iron. Got absolutely no issue with them at all. When is that new tip being delivered? Which tip was I with? Which? I don't know what it's talking about. The Quiet Place 2. Okay, did you watch that? Is that any good? Okay. I'll have to speak to my source for movies. Oh, look at this. I'm way behind on the chat, sorry. Thank you very much for the super chat, 3,000 yen. When repairing a board with a lot of corrosion, do you try and clean out every corroded via or just those that you need to run a wire through? I try and clean all of them within reason. There are certain practical limitations sometimes when you have a board where perhaps every single via has some marking on it. And I mean, you just, what do you do under those circumstances? You can't just do it, keep there scrubbing away forever. So, in an instance like this one here, I found a corroded trace. And I cleaned it up. But, as I say, there is a practical limitation when it comes to that. There really is. What's enough power for a TS100? That's a good question. I went and bought this absolutely massively over-spec 24-volt power supply for mine. It runs on 12 to 24 from memory. And so I got this really high power switching power supply with that's 24 volt. And it's giving it ample power. But in terms of what is enough, yes, I'm not entirely sure. But the information for that is out there on the Googles. Right, I've got to go back and check up on some of this chat because I'm so far behind. Ford versus Ferrari, excellent movie, seen it, thank you very much. Catler miniseries, very easy viewing, brutally bleak, and I'm not sure it's a good thing to watch. Yeah, that's always the worry, isn't it? Clarkson's Farm is worth watching, but you can't stand Jeremy Clarkson. Oh. Flight of the Navigator. I'd never seen it. Flight of the Navigator. Are you talking about the New Zealand film? Flight of the Navigator. No, hang on. I've got to look that up. I'm going to Googleize it. Flight of the Navigator. No, that's... Oh, hang on. Are you talking about that kids movie from like the 1980s? Is that what you're referring to? The kids movie from the 1980s? Where he's flying around in that shiny thing? With the computer inside that talks to him? I remember seeing that when I was a youngster. Watched There's Something About Mary last night. Really never got into that film, I have to say. I know everyone loved it, but I don't know if it's because I don't particularly like, what's his name and what's her name, but that probably has something to do with it. Beans and Franks. I've seen the movie, and I appreciate there are some funny bits in it, but it's just not a film that I would ever really go back and watch a second time. Oopsie. So I'm just catching up on the chat here. I'm a little bit behind before I go in and test this. Oh, the micro soldering iron tip. Yes, I ordered one of those from Amazon the other day. That's coming. So it's a different tip for my Hacko iron. It's a micro soldering tip. So it's one that allows you to do really, really fine little stuff. So looking forward to that arriving. That is on its way. I also ordered, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, a new wireless mic setup because the one that I have here is a little on the old side. I got it for free, so I can't complain. But yeah, it's a little on the old side. The new one is smaller and more compact, and I like it. 40 watt is what I'm using. I'm referring to the TS100. Now someone mentioned 000. I did start watching some of it. Is that the one where each one is a self-contained story? I could be wrong. Greyhound. I started watching that. But I didn't finish it. The one with Tim Honks. I was retro-comp. You're thinking of Flight of the Conchords when I was referring to the New Zealand one. So when that film came out called Flight of the Navigator, at the same time, like within a very short span of time, another film came out called just The Navigator. And it was a New Zealand film. So you had Flight of the Navigator, which was kind of a big budget Hollywood flick, kids movie. And then you had The Navigator, which was a New Zealand film, and it was a lot more dark and bleak, and it was set in the Dark Ages, and there was the Black Death involved and all that, as in whatever it's called, plague, bubonic plague. And it was a very interesting movie. It's very different. Both of them, people did kind of get them mixed up a bit at the time because they both had Navigator in their title. And the one that was just called Navigator, which is a film made in New Zealand, was really interesting. I don't know how it would stand up nowadays, but it was I did enjoy it. And all things DG, does it boot yet? We're about to find out. So, I have replaced the cap, so I'm now going to just quickly check and make sure that they're all in the right place and the right polarity. Yes. See, I can do this. I can do this with the naked eye. I don't need the microscope for that. So let's just go in and swap some view over here. Let's get a bit of top view going on here. And so, positive, 47, 47, 47, positive. Sorry about my big head in the way. Positive. Okay, they're the hundreds. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 capacitors replaced. We're all good to go. What we can see here is a 68LC040 RC33B. What that tells me is this is a 33 megahertz 040 chip, but it's the LC version, which means that it does not have an integrated math coprocessor. If you were to get hold of a 68040 that doesn't have LC on it, you would be able to just simply do a straight swap on this. You'd be able to take this chip out, stick the 33 megahertz 68040 instead of the LC, and that would effectively upgrade this with a math coprocessor. So there's a tip for you. But having said that, some of these 040 chips are getting hard to find and expensive to replace. So we have to test this now and see if it works. And for that, I'm not going to put any extra RAM in it. but I'll test it without any extra RAM in it, and then I'll add RAM to it. Now, does this have built-in VRAM? Is that there, or are they ROMs? Uh-oh, my heater's run out of gas. My legs are going to start getting cold now. I'll put the VRAM in, just because. Don't think there's anything wrong with it. Okay. Okay, so where are we? So I've got to find a question. 3,000 yen. Did Bruce catch your question? Have I already responded to it, or did I miss it? Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, I did answer that. Good. Yep, I did answer that one. All good. Everything's fine. So this is how far behind I am on the chat. It's terrible. Did you say I keep finding 040 CPUs? That's a good thing. Can I have some? If you can't get on the internet, what good is it? Well, that's a very good question. You do have to remember that the world lived without the internet for a very long time, and we got by okay. You can do everything with this that you could do before the internet existed. So, and some of us remember. Okay, all right. Let's go and test this out now. So as I say, I've got a 32 meg RAM sim here. I'm going to put this to one side. We will test it with it, but I want to test it without any RAM in it first. Just the onboard RAM, which is here. And if anyone has access to, I don't know, every Mac or Mac Tracker or whatever, and can tell me how much RAM this has on board, I'd be interested to know, because I can't remember off the top of my head. It's 4 or 8. Probably 8. 4, you can't do anything with 4. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's grab this rather dirty looking Macintosh Classic. Needs a bit of TLC, this one. This one is mine. It's actually labelled as a Performer 250 rather than a Classic. It has lots of problems, this one. It needs lots of work. But it is still suitable for me to test this board. Should be, anyway. Let's try it. Right. Here we go. Yep. Right. So even though this is a board made for a completely different computer, it does actually fit in. It's got the same connector. It's not exactly the same. This will not actually work properly in this computer, but it will at least tell me whether it's going to chime, whether it's going to start up. This board hasn't been cleaned yet, so often when it comes to capacitor leakage, the board needs a good clean first. So if we do have problems, that could essentially be what the problems are caused by. I'm going to power it up. Whew. Oh, that was falling out a long way. This is dirty. Let's switch it on. Okay. Going to grab myself a keyboard. I don't know if anyone in my previous streams has watched, and I was working with a Mac Classic, and I was trying to get it to boot from the ROM, and I just could not get it to boot from the ROM. Thank you. I found out what the problem is. The keyboard that I've been using, some of the keys don't work, so I wasn't able to boot into the ROM, because I think it was either the option or the command key. One of the two keys doesn't work properly, and so I was never able to boot into the ROM. So I got a new keyboard. I mean, it's not a new keyboard, it's an old keyboard, but it's a different one where all the keys work. Now, if you're wanting to start up the Color Classic, you have to remember that even though there is a switch on the back, it is only a standby switch. It doesn't actually switch it on. You need to switch it on with a keyboard, soft boot option. So if you don't have a keyboard for one of these, you're going to struggle a little bit getting them up and running. So I'm going to plug in my keyboard into the ADB port on the back, ADB meaning Apple Desktop Bus, and then I'm going to press this power button and we're going to see what happens. We ready? Are we ready? I'm ready. You're ready. We're ready. Got a chime? Aha! Sad Mac. Now, this is what I was saying before. typically when I hear a sad Mac chime on these things, it is not because of capacitors. I mean, it could always be. It's because of something else. Now, I need to clean this first because it's going to have some gunk on it. But I suspect that this board has a different problem other than recapping. And again, this is all part of kind of doing these and trying to get a feel for what the problems are. You know, when someone, like for instance, when I'm on a lot of these forums and people ask, they say, I've got a computer, it's doing this. And then people just jump on and say, recap it. And of course, I really do like to try and provide answers that are more suited to the problem. Now, sometimes that answer is recap it. If someone says to me, I've got a Macintosh SE and it doesn't power on, if it hasn't been recapped, recapping is almost definitely going to fix it, and potentially some corrosion on the board as well. But this one here, having that sad Mac chime, I've actually got another computer with a very similar problem, and I think I know what it is. But anyhow, the recapping did not resolve the issue on this one. So what do we do next? Well, the very next thing we do is we clean it, because if it is something being caused by some residual corrosion, residual electrolyte on the board, then we need to get rid of it. So the next thing I will do is ultrasonically clean it. Then I'll test it again, and we'll see if it works then. And if we've still got that problem, the next thing I need to do is I need to go in and start looking over some areas where we might, where we might have, you know, any potential issues on this board. Another thing I can do is I can get the old oscilloscope out and check these onboard RAM chips and see if any of them are giving me some weird signals or anything like that. But regrettably, this is where this particular one ends, because there's not much more I can do with it for now. So my apologies, but this was always a possible outcome. So I'll just throw this one in the bin. No, I won't do that. That'd be terrible. So started off with an LC475 power supply. Couldn't finish it because I'd run out of some capacitors. Then moved on to an LC575. Doesn't work. That is the joy of recapping. Yeah. So I'm just going to catch up on the chat here, and then I might just finish off this finished board that I was working on the other day. But just check and make sure. Lisa parts go for stupid prices. Never a truer word spoken. And of course, with a Lisa, you're never going to find yourself in a position where you've got someone who has it and they don't know what they have. I mean, there was a guy that was selling one on a site we have here called Gumtree. And Gumtree is typically where people put something up for a set price and you contact them, and if you're first there, you can get it at that price. Sometimes you might make them an offer less than the amount. I think it's similar to Craigslist. I think, but I don't know for certain because we don't really use Craigslist out here. But yeah, so we have Gumtree, which is actually a website started in the UK, but it's out here as well. And someone had a Lisa for sale on one, and he had a price there. And I contacted him and I said, "Oh, look, I'm really interested in this Lisa. Is it still available?" And he said, "Yes, but bidding is up to like $2,500 at this stage or something." And I'm like, bidding? I mean, this is not a auction website. And what he had done was he had made it so that everyone who wanted it should just contact him with an offer. So essentially setting up a blind auction for this Lisa. So the idea was that you just contacted him, you gave him your best price, and the person who offered the most amount would end up getting the Lisa. Now, it ended up going, I think, for $3,500, something like that. Not even working, I might mention. So this is a not working Lisa 2. That was ended up going for, I think, over $3,000, something like that. Nah. Quadra 700. Just a quick mention of the Quadra 700 because it is one of my favourite Macs. I have one, and it's my precious. It's my precious. Never giving it up. Never letting it down. Never running around. Okay. Surprised that Mac didn't crack in half when you lifted it by the case. Adam, that's a very interesting comment that you just made. The Macintosh Color Classic doesn't have the brittle plastics. The Color Classic, which is interesting because, you know, I mean, you think of the Color Classic and the LC575. 575 has got the brittle plastics. Color Classic doesn't. Color Classic, you can bend the plastics and stuff and they don't snap. It's actually quite extraordinary. They seem so similar and yet they are different plastics. So, yeah, they're pretty good. Being Bruce rolled. Right, so let's get this board that I was part way through the other day and had to stop all of a sudden. Unfortunately, that's not it. That's not it. It's up here somewhere. I think that's it. I need to do some better board storage. Oh, this is an unusual one. This is not something I normally recap. This is a... I'm going to have to stop fairly soon. I've been going for a long time and I'm getting extremely hungry. And the heater's gone out and I've got no more gas canisters, so I can't do another one. Oh, I was going to blow up a cap, wasn't I? Do people want me to see me blow up a cap? I mean, I will if people want me to. If they just think that's pointless and stupid, I won't. Seems to go in here. Yeah, so this is a PowerPC. This is a Macintosh 6100, which means it has the PowerPC 601, which is Mike from Mike's Mac Shack. It's his favourite CPU, and he actually told me that the 6100 is one of his favourite Macs, and the reason why he loves it so much is because of how powerful they are. Now, if anyone detects a slight amount of sarcasm in my voice there, you are probably right. Pointless and stupid is the whole point. That deserves to be shown to the world. Okay. Right, now. Okay, so, well, we'll put this to one side. I probably will still do this, because this one won't take me long at all. This is nearly finished. But I am going to try and blow up a cap. Just because. Now, I'm going to... I'm going to, well, let's start with a little one, shall we? I've probably got a spare one around here, like a dead one that I can just cook. What's that one? That's an axial. Let's get the voltage set somewhere nice and high first. Let's get that set up to a... Oh, shivers. I don't want to cook this. This is my laser beam. Can't kill my laser beam. I do have a spare, but I'd really rather not kill it. So what I need is this. This is my little clippy thingies. And we need to crank this up to, well, I don't know. Okay, what are you? 31 volts? How about that? It's probably a bit much. And let's get the amps. So this here, when you're setting the amps on this, you can't see this because you're not pointing at it, but when you're setting the amps on these things, what you're doing is you're setting up what is the maximum amount of amps that this thing is going to output. Well, I've set it at 3.2. Right. What the hell is going on? Did he finish? Yes, he finished. I finished. You happy about that? Basically what happened is it has the same problems it had before, which is the sad Mac chime, which I was expecting to happen because typically when you do get the sad Mac chime, it's not because of bad caps. So I recapped it because the caps are leaking anyway, so it needs to be done. But it's still getting the sad Mac chime. So I've now got to do a whole bunch of other diagnostic work and stuff, which is going to be boring to live stream, so I'm not going to live stream it. Instead, we're going to blow something up. Oh, look what I found. Oh, look at that. It's a 120 megabyte 2.5-inch hard drive, SCSI. I think it came out of a 180. Good little thing to have that. Good to have the little SCSI hard drives. So I was actually looking for my little... Oh, I know where... Right, sorry. Now, I do have a fire extinguisher here in case I need it, but I'm hoping that I won't need it. I'm hoping it'll just go pop and stink the place out with smoke. Right. Let's get a capacitor. So we're going to start with a little one. We'll get one that we know will absolutely fry. We're getting something with a relatively low voltage. We're going to connect it up with the wrong polarity. So let's start off with a little guy. Actually, this is a crap capacitor. How about that? This is a 470 microfarad 25 volt. I don't like this capacitor. Even though it's a low ESR, I'm never going to put it in a device, so I may as well blow it up. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this in a way that I don't actually risk myself, put damage to myself. But we'll just do it anyway. Okay, so connecting this up with the positive on negative and negative on positive, and then we're going to attach this here like that and like that, and then maybe don't point it straight at the camera or at me. I'll maybe put it that way. How about that? SCSI hard drives are worthless with BlueSCSI and SCSI to SD available. Very, very good and interesting point. And of course, for me, I would take, first thing I do is I take the mechanical drive out and I replace them with a solid state. But there are quite a lot of people that still like them. They still like the old mechanical ones. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to stand over here. I'm going to protect myself with this. I'm going to switch this on and then we're going to see what happens. We got any predictions? What do people think? What do people think is going to happen? Oh, crap, yeah. I should put some safety goggles on, shouldn't I? I do have some, I think. Oh, there's one. Found it. Oopsie. Okay. Careful not to step on that. There's a few spiders in here, but never mind. Okay. Got my protection. Okay, so predictions. What's going to happen? Okay. Right. Pointless and stupid is the whole point. That's what we're about to do. Pointless and stupid. Okay, we ready? I'm going to stand over here. 3, 2, 1. Well, it's very unhappy. Woo! Ha ha ha! Ha! Okay. So there we go. We just blew up a capacitor. That's what we do. That's what we do here. We do the stupid stuff. So let's just have a look at this under the microscope. It's nice and toasty. As you can see, it has evacuated its bowels from the top of the capacitor here. So is the weak point. That is a specifically designed weak point on these. That's why they have a little cross on them. And there's some of the fluffy stuff in there. So anyhow, I was worried it was going to stink the place out, but it really doesn't smell too bad at all. So I'm actually kind of pleased. Oh, just banged the microphone. Sorry. So I'm actually kind of pleased with that. So it all went well. It was, wasn't it? Yeah, so kiddies, don't try that at home. That was, But yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to reek, but it doesn't. So I'm going to switch this on. I'm going to drop the voltage so that I don't accidentally connect something to this with some obscene amount of voltage getting thrown at it. And I will just quickly put the caps on this 6100 board, and then I think I will call it a day. And I'll be still working out here. I just won't be live streaming. Okay, everyone's still alive. Fantastic. 6100. Do I have a recapping guide for this? Thank you very much, Jay. As I said, that was a cap that I was never going to use because I don't like it. It's a different colour to all the other ones, so I don't like it. I'm not going to use a green one when all the other ones are like black and blue and stuff. So let's have a look at our 6100. Came for the recapping, stayed for the explosion. Love it. Now, just going to quickly check and see if I have a recapping guide for the 6100. I think, because I'm pretty sure I did do one. Might even be printed up. But I'm pretty sure it's just a whole stack of 47. Let's have a look here. Recap a Mac. Recap a Mark. Resources. There we go, look at that, 6100. I do have a guide, though I don't think it's a very important one because it is just, yeah, it's 1147 microfarad, 16 volt. God, I think I'm running low on these things. I have to do an order. Still got a few more recaps I can do. Did they have the performance variants at 6100 in Oz, 6115, 6116? I'm not entirely sure. I can't answer that, I'm afraid. I don't recall. I've only ever seen 6100s. I haven't seen the variants. So that might mean it, but here's a really interesting thing. I'm just trying to remember. I don't know that I ever owned a 61 or had a 6100 where I worked. I'm just trying to remember some of the Macs we had back in that era. I remember doing a PowerPC upgrade to one of our Quadras, and I don't remember which. It was probably a 950 or a 700 or something like that. I remember getting hold of a PowerPC upgrade card back at the time. But in terms of the actual 601 computers that we own, I have very little recollection of that from that time. Yeah, so not really sure. What's everyone's general opinion of 6100 model? Yeah, you know, it's really funny. It does cop it. I don't mind. I've got one. I do have a 6100. It's a bit flaky, unfortunately. Just going to put some flux on here, ready for the new caps to go down. I should change the little ticker tape, shouldn't I? Because the little ticker is saying something else. I didn't change it to blowing up a capacitor, did I? Well, let's go here to the banners, and we're going to create one. I'm going to say recapping a Power Mac 6100. There we go. Just change that. And you know, I like the 6100 because I like the form factor. I like the case. I've always been a fan of that big pizza box case that the 660AV came in as well. And see, 660AV is one of my faves. I would actually a 660 I prefer over a 6100, but I have a 660AV as well. But what I don't like about these is this stupid display connector. That to me is one of the most annoying things. And of course, the other problem was, I think at the time, when the 6100 came out, I don't think there was that much PowerPC software around that could really take advantage of the extra speed. So I think for the most part, when you're using a 6100, the speed was fairly underwhelming in comparison to like the 040s that were around at the time. Because this was the successor to the 040. This is when Apple made one of its first shifts in its CPU architecture. We know that they've just recently made a shift to the M1 chip, which is RISC-based, which of course is very interesting because these ones here are RISC-based. 604 was CISC, and then they went to RISC with the PowerPC. And then, of course, they changed back into CISC when they went with Intel. Now, that was a move mainly that occurred because Apple were really wanting to get heavily into the mobile market, and they could not get the mobile computers using the G5 chip. It just was too hot, used too much power. So Apple were wanting to really, do good things with mobile, with laptops and stuff like that, and they couldn't do it with a G5. All they could do was make G4 laptops, and they were trying to make them as powerful as they could. And so they were kind of forced into going to Intel so that they could get a better mobile, or desktop, laptop sort of computer going. So but then of course they have then had problems with Intel as well now, and that's why they've then moved in-house and gone with their M1s. Whoops. What brush do you use for your solder masks? Do you just dip it into a syringe or paint? Okay, so I have, let me just jump across there. Okay. Performance 6116, okay, just looking here. Doesn't look like an LC575. Yes, I've fixed it now. It says recapping a Pamac 6100. So 3,000 yen. What I do is I buy the stuff in a syringe, and then I got hold of this. It's a little metal or little aluminum tin, and I squeezed it into that. And this, by it being a tin, it's airtight, but it's also light tight. So it's so that's what I use. And then I use a paintbrush, which is just an art brush that I bought, and it's a 000 size. So that's the size of the bristles at the end. They're very, 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 very small. But that's called a 000 brush, and I just bought that on E of the Bay. E to the Bay. BlueSCSI is working on 6100, which is nice. Yes, 6100 was one of the first computers I tested the BlueSCSI on once I had one here. I tested it on that. I also tested it on a 73, and it worked, by the way, without any additional power. I also had it tested on a 7600 with the G3 upgrade card, and it worked in that too. I've got two 7300s. I didn't go looking for 7300s. I just got two. This will be the last little project for today's live stream. After this, I will be heading off. We've dipped down to 39 viewers. I think we peaked out at around about 50 at one stage, which is an indication that I am just quietly getting more and more boring. It could also be an indication that people are having to go to bed, because I know it's quite late. But come on, if you're in the US, it's Saturday night. You're staying up, having a recapping party. 610. I've got a 610 as well. Yeah, I like that too. I like them. Again, because of the pizza box shape. It's for me, it's a very agreeable size. When I was a young man, when I was a lot younger than I am today, I worked on artwork for a board game, and I did a lot of that work in my own time after hours, because I was doing it as a favour for someone. And I used to, on the weekend, I used to grab 660 AV from my place of employment, and I would take it home. I had a screen at home that I could use, but I would take the 660 AV home because I didn't have anything at home. What I had at home was a Mac 2. which was fine for what I wanted to do, but it was not good for doing artwork and stuff like that. You know, I placed Civilization and stuff on it. And so I would take this 660 AV home, and I would work on this, the artwork for this board game, you know, creating the board and creating the box and all the little questions and all that sort of stuff. I didn't write the questions because it was a trivia type thing. It was a board game, a trivia movie board game. So it had questions about films, movies and films and stuff. Why aren't you sticky? And so I have all these lovely memories of bringing the 660 AV home and doing work on it on the weekend, and then playing games in my spare time on it. And of course, it was so much more powerful than what I had at home, so it was really, really good. Whoops. (9 p.m. British Columbia). Oopsie. Oh boy, I'm missing a lot of chat. Crap. Oh crap. Okay, sorry Fizzbin, if I missed that, you saying goodbye. Thank you very much for joining, and good night. Alright. Okay, this isn't going to take very long, because as I mentioned before, this is something I started recapping the other day and just didn't get to finish, so all I'm doing is putting caps on it, and they're all the same size. They're all 47 microfarad 16 volt, every single one of them. This is a board that doesn't even need recapping. This is a customer that sends me huge boxes of recapping at any one time. So they basically just turn up at the doorstep and they have massive boxes full of boards for recapping. And then I just slowly work my way through them. I think this is the last or the second last one in the box, so I will actually be able to send them back and get a payday from it. The biggest problem I have at the moment is the number of boards that I have that are not recaps, they're repairs. That pile is just growing and growing and growing. And the problem is that stuff takes so much time that it's very hard for me to actually stay on top of those. And it's to the point where I am pretty much going to have to stop taking repairs. I'll only be able to take on recaps. Because you know, they take hours. They take hours and hours and hours. And, you know, and because I do this part-time, I don't do this as my chief source of employment. This is just something that I do for a bit of fun, keep myself busy, do a few live streams. I'm doing this stuff generally on the weekends or at night. And there's a limit to how much I can get done. You know, I find someone sends me a board and they say, hey, have you started it? It's like, no. And then a week goes by and it's like, well, you know, I was working all week. I only had, you know, like a handful of hours to go and work on this stuff. And I'm afraid you're, you know, you're third in the queue. So no, I didn't do it this week either. I have to try and obviously set expectations. I don't want to make false promises to people. I do let people know that I don't have a whole bucket load of time. And I can, of course, knock over a bunch of recaps in a very short span of time. But the minute they start becoming a repair job, it's a completely different story. Some are just straightforward trace repairs. You just look, you see damage, where you find damage, you repair it, and then away she goes. It's like, yep, there's visible damage, I fix the damage, and we move on. Then you have other ones where you fix the visible damage, and it still doesn't work. And then you have ones where there is no visible damage, and it doesn't work.
And those are the ones that are very difficult to diagnose because, first of all, there are no schematics in existence for a lot of these. So, you know, you're playing guessing games in terms of how they all work and stuff like that. This board's a little bit bigger than I like. I don't have as much space to play with it here. Can't wait to see Joe's computer. You and me the same. Unfortunately, it's still not here yet. It's still northeast of where I am by about, I think it's about a 7-hour drive. And there is someone going to bring that to me, but that person has been very, very busy of late, and so I do not want to create any pressure. But the board is in the country. I'm absolutely terrified about what I'm going to find when it arrives. Joe's had a good old look at it, and he's done a whole bunch of trace repairs. Steve's had a good old look at it, and he's done a bunch of trace repairs. And now it's heading my way. And I am, just quietly, just between you and me, I am terrified about what I'm going to find. Oh, I'm caught. There we go. This one's going to need to go in the big ultrasonic cleaner. It's too big for my little one. I do love having that big ultrasonic cleaner, I've got to tell you. Okay, just checking on the chat here. We're all good. Okay, so I think I feel like I still have more to go. I can't have done 11 already, have I? Have I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I have done 11. Now this computer worked before, so I expect it to work again. I haven't got a 6100 case down here. Oh, maybe I do, to test with. But we can maybe at least see if we can get a chime. Where's the speaker go on this thing? Just checking that I have soldered both sides. This is an awkward board, so I could well have forgotten to do one side of one of these caps. So just going through and checking account. Positive. Let's get back to doing the glasses. I don't know if I can run this from a what do you call it, a 660, a 610 power supply. Right, let's go see what I've got. Let's see if I've got something. A 610 power supply will work. That's good to hear, because that's what I have. Right. I'm not going to stick, I will, sorry. Okay, just a second. Just travelling over here. Stepping over a, what do you call that thing? Color Classic. Oh, I'm going to have to step outside. I don't have room to open this in here. So bear with me a minute. Hopefully you can still hear me. If you can't hear me, you can't hear me. But if you can hear me... Oh, it's raining out here. Let's hope this doesn't get too wet. This is... Oh, I've taken the power supply out. What kind of idiot would do that? This kind. Yeah. Out you come. Okay, that's the light. Okay, right. So, what I can tell you is somewhere, probably in this shed, is a power supply for a 610. Now, if I can find it, we'll test it. If I can't find it, I'll just end the stream. Okay. This is what happens when you don't have enough room for all the stuff you have. This is a problem I am faced with all the time in this workshop. Oh. So was everyone able to hear me while I was outside then? Just curious. It's summer tomorrow. Tomorrow, is it? It's already winter here. We start winter at the beginning of the month. Power supplies, power supplies, power supplies. I have lots of power supplies here. I just need to find the right one. I mean, I can't think of anywhere else logical that I would have put it. It's the most sensible place for it to be around here, with all my other power supplies. Ah, dear. Oh, I see it. I see it. Here is a stupid power supply. Why is it stupid? I'll tell you why it's stupid. Because it has a mechanical button. And I hate that. Right. So we are going to be able to test this, hopefully. Where does the speaker... Can anyone tell me where the speaker connects up? Is it this J10? Oopsie. So that means I need a speaker with 4 prongs on it, not 2. I don't even know if I have that out here. There's not much point if I can't, if I don't have a speaker connected to it, we won't know if it's starting or not. Because I need the display cable to get any sort of output from it. I've got one of those upstairs, but I'm not going to go and get it. So these things end up getting way more difficult than they need to be. Well, as patient as everyone has been, I do feel like it would be cruel for me to keep hunting around trying to find speakers and things. And I think I will probably just end the stream. I apologise for the fact that I'm not testing this this computer, but on the bright side, it was working before, so I have absolutely no reason to think that it wouldn't be working anymore. Yep, okay. So, oh, I suppose I could, if I had headphones here, which I don't, I could connect speakers to it. And like an external speaker. I don't have headphones here. I do have these speakers here, but disconnecting them will be a nightmare because it's connected to the computer under the desk. Oh, this is all just getting so complicated. Requires a ROM sim to boot. Are you sure? You sure? I'm not calling you a liar or anything like that. As said, I do actually have a 6100, but I have zero recollection as to whether it's got a ROM sim in it. But if what you're saying is correct, then I guess it does have a ROM sim in it. So, short answer is, I can't test this unless I go upstairs and bring my 6100 down, and I don't want to do that. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to just imagine it worked afterwards. How about that? Can we all do that? Can we all play Let's Pretend? Let's pretend it all worked. I'm
Come to the ROMs for the cache. Okay, cool. Yep, I believe you. I believe you totally. No, there's no speaker in my 610 case. I've taken it out at some stage. I've put it somewhere. So, yes, no speaker in my 6100. Oh dear. It's a nice case. It's a lovely case. There's just not much in it anymore. There's that plastic thing that on the bottom, and there's the LED light in there, but there's not much else. Alright, well I think I'm going to wrap it up now because it is time for me to eat some lunch. I am incredibly hungry and it started raining again. So big thank you to everyone. I'm just going to get this banner and I'm going to switch him off. And then I'm going to do a bit of this and say, there we go, that's me. And to the people that are still hanging on and watching, I want to thank everyone for watching today. I want to thank everyone for all the super chats. That was absolutely fantastic. Everyone feeling very generous today, and I do appreciate it. We didn't have a whole lot of success with some of the things that we worked on today. I mean, success is, you know, is a relative term, I guess. At least got the caps off the LC475 power supply. I've just now got to go buy some replacement caps. What was the other one? The 575 was successfully recapped, as in we did actually replace the capacitors, but the symptoms that it had before recapping are still there. So we know that the problems that that one was suffering from were not related to the caps. Though they could be related to some leaked electrolyte on the board, so it's going to go spend some time in the ultrasonic cleaner. We'll see how it goes after that. And then this one here, it's the 6100 that I started on the other day and just finished it up by putting the new caps on it, and I'm going to take that up into the house and test it up there, but I'm pretty sure this one will all be fine. So thank you to everyone for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the new live streaming software. I hope the sound and picture were all good for you. It's certainly a lot easier. I use OBS on this thing usually, and it's very, very finicky. This one here seemed to be a lot more stable and did what I want it to do. And just a reminder to everyone who is watching, if you haven't already, can you please
Smash that like button.
That would be greatly appreciated. So thanks again. Did you set your cam to 1080p? Yes, I did set it to 1080p, and it does look a little bit fuzzy. I do realize that, and I don't know why that's the case. Let me try. I just want to try something here. I'm going to try something very quickly. Something. And I just want to see if I go here to this. Okay, so I've just put it on autofocus. Did it get sharper? I don't know, it looks the same. Yes, you're right, it does look a little bit blurry. It could be to do with the speed of this computer at the moment. This is sitting up around about 600% CPU usage, so it's a 3,1 dual quad core computer, and it's certainly chewing up some CPU cycles doing this at the moment. That might be one of the reasons why it looks a bit blurry. But yes, it is set on 1080p. Not much more I can do. Having said that, I am going to check it now because you've made me doubt myself. Show advanced options. Yep, it's on 1080p. Okay, so thanks again, everyone. Thank you for joining the stream. Hope to see you at the next one. Thanks for all of the chats, the comments, the questions, the super chats. I really appreciate it. Have a good night, day, whatever it is, wherever you are, and I shall hopefully see you at the next one. Bye.